Call this meeting to order. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next is the moment of silence. I'd like to dedicate this moment of silence to 4 people. Lucille Lou Carroll, Mike Carroll's mother, who passed away at the age of 84. Diana Dinny Pasquinelli, who is Mr. Pasquinelli's cousin. George Agofsky, who is Mayor Agofsky's father, who passed away at the age of 93. And Donna Hames, who passed away at the age of 71. Thank you. Next, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason.
Present.
Trustee Reinders.
Present.
Trustee McNaughton. Trustee Consolino.
Present.
Trustee Fialco.
Present.
Trustee Stylen.
Present.
Mayor Knightsky-Troicki.
Present. And Trustee McNaughton will be here. He's just running a few minutes late. Okay, next is community recognition. First up, we have recognizing the Eagle Scouts, Owen Kugzero. Did I say that right? Yes, woo, and Matthew Frayne. I'll ask the board to please go to the podium when Joe is done reading. Or do you want us to come up now?
That's fine. Let me say a few things
Yeah,
and
please do.
bring these young gentlemen up here. If they want to step forward, please. I personally have been involved with scouting for many years, initially as a Cub Scout, Boy Scout, and then in the Cub and Scoutmaster roles here in Homer Glen. Scouting, its programs have shown to be a benefit to residents and the community. The Eagle Scout rank is a lifelong, high-level achievement that is highly sought by colleges, businesses, military, and community service leaders. Only about 6% of all Scouts are able to receive the rank of Eagle Scout. 21 total merit badges are required to be earned for the Eagle Scout rank, as well as community service projects. The Village of Homer Glen would like to recognize and congratulate Matthew Frayne and Owen Gazero on the coveted achievement and wish them the best in their future endeavors. Congratulations, gentlemen. I'd like to have Jen Frank come up. She's going to promote Troop 64 a little bit, or 63, I'm sorry. 64 is my old troop. And talk a little bit about scouting and recruiting and things like that.
Welcome.
Thank you. So just a little bit about scouting. Back in 2012, we went to a Cub Scout recruiting event, and we were sold on the fact that it would be a la carte, and it was anything but that. We could do as much or as little as we wanted. Needless to say, my family has jumped in with both feet since then. Cub Scout ranks are earned, and there are also electives to earn. They work along with their fellow Scouts to work on the next rank. However, each rank needs to be earned by June 1st, or they miss that opportunity and they need to work on the next with their fellow Scouts in their den. There are many dens which then form a big pack. This is very much a family-included activity. We have enjoyed overnight events at Legoland and many museums. We have done Pinewood Derbies, rain gutter regattas, space derby, hiking, camping, and so much more. In a troop, there are many patrols. Each child works at their own pace. They earn ranks and merit badges. Scouts need to earn ranks while simultaneously accumulating at least 21 merit badges before earning the Eagle Scout rank. Of those 21 merit badges, 14 must come from a list of Eagle Scout required merit badges, and the rest can be any of the other merit badges that are offered. Currently, there are over 135 merit badges offered. Each of these badges are 4 to 5 hours of work. The Eagle Scout project is one that they need to plan, raise funds, and recruit the help for it. My son Matthew started in Cub Scouts in 2016. He also earned every rank that was ever offered by the BSA, from Cub Scouts all the way through the troop. He completed his board of review December 10th of 2024. He worked hard and completed more than the minimum merit badges required. He currently has 48 merit badges and is striving to earn more. He is a member of the Order of the Arrow as well. His Eagle Scout project was completed for TLC Animal Shelter. Matthew designed and built 4 waste cleanup stations with the help of his dad that were installed at the shelter. He had to take down an old shed. He also had to repair and repaint the gazebo. The hardest part of this project was the gazebo. He was to replace a few boards and paint. However, the more boards they took out, the more problems it revealed. There was much more rotting wood than was expected, and there was termite-infested wood as well. All of that added much more time and money to his project. Owen has earned every rank ever offered by the BSA as well. He completed his board of review and earned his Eagle Scout rank January 23rd of 2024. Owen is a member of the Order of the Arrow as well. He has earned 30 merit badges. Owen's Eagle Scout project was for Cross of Glory. He had to take out the old abandoned playground out and transform it into a meditation relaxation butterfly garden, which was requested by Pastor Dana. The hardest part was taking out the old playground. There was hydraulic cement 4 feet down holding it into the ground. It was not easy to get out. He then built a drought-resistant corner flower box. He made 3 benches for people to enjoy the landscape with. The center flower garden had plants that encouraged butterflies to live there, and they saw some coming within a week. My oldest son, Kenny, earned his Eagle Scout rank in 2022, and he is now an assistant scoutmaster. My daughter Hannah has grown up within the BSA with her brothers, so when they allowed girls to join, she joined as well. She is in Troop 492 of New Lenox. My husband and I are both extremely involved with any activities, planning, and running things. My husband, Ed, is an assistant troop leader for Troop 63, and I'm in the advancement chair for Troop 492. If anyone is interested in any kind of scouting, please let me know. We have all made lifelong friends, and we have loved every single bit of everything that scouting has offered us. Thank you.
And thank you. You're raising some fine young children. Okay, next we have recognition from the National Weather Service.
Good evening. My name is Mike Bardew. I'm the warning coordination meteorologist at the Chicago office of the National Weather Service. If you're not familiar with the NWS, we're a federal agency. We fall within the Department of Commerce, and you may be familiar with NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. We're part of NOAA as well. Our local office is actually just across the river in Romeoville. We forecast and provide severe weather and hazardous weather warning service for 23 counties between, which is much of northern Illinois, northeastern Illinois, I should say, and northwest Indiana. We're about 10.5 million citizens, and literally hundreds of different public safety agencies and government entities make up our partner base, including the broadcast media. Our goal at the Weather Service is to build what we call a weather-ready nation. So we know we're going to see hazardous weather. We're no stranger to it in this area, whether it's floods, tornadoes, snowstorms. And to do that, we really need to start at the local or the community level. And that involves a lot of planning on the part of emergency management agencies or other public safety entities. And we have a process that we can go through to recognize them as what we call storm ready. And that's what I'm here to do tonight. Storm ready is a process, like I mentioned. There's requirements that involve having redundant ways of communication to receive weather information, to broadcast it out to decision makers in the community and even the public at large. There's exercise and drilling requirements in terms of having a documented hazardous weather plan that that looks at all kinds of weather hazards that you might face. And of course, we see all 4 seasons here in Northern Illinois, so those plans are usually quite extensive. We also focus on the need for community preparedness and community engagement to help train and educate folks on how to have a plan and keep themselves, their family, their loved ones safe when we have hazardous weather, which we're going to inevitably have from time to time. And then finally, it's not a one-and-done recognition. Part of the process actually is to get emergency management experts locally, usually from the county level, as well as staff from our office to convene what we call the Storm Ready Board to review an application, which in our case in Homer Glen here, Ron Cuss has submitted to us. We went through the review, made the approval, and now that recognition goes on. So in 4 more years, we're going to be revisiting the application to make sure that the requirements continue to be met. So it's an ongoing process, training, practicing, testing plans, responding to real-world events, helping educate the community on the importance of weather preparedness is kind of a non-ending effort that we want the communities to take on. So here tonight, on behalf of the Weather Service, I want to congratulate Ron especially and the community of Homer Glen here on being recognized as storm ready. So. As a couple just small tokens of recognition, we have just a certificate recognizing this, and then we do have a road sign that says we are storm ready. It's on order, the one that we get to give you. I have to take this with me, I apologize. But this is something that the community does receive because this is a big deal to us. It's not a simple effort. It's usually a long process. There's evaluations and applications, like I mentioned. So we definitely want to recognize that hard work that's already been done, but certainly the hard work that's going to go on from here. So congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'd like for you guys to get a photo from Brittany.
Sure.
Oh, all right, I'm coming. I'm coming. Okay, next is amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments?
Mayor, I would like to make a couple amendments.
Okay.
I would like to move the workshop, item O to L1A, and I would also like to remove L5. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'm sorry, what was the second one? Remove L5?
L5, remove L5.
Oh, because that was already done.
Yes.
Any motions on that, right? Or roll call?
Sure.
Madam, is there any discussion on that? Does anybody have any more
Can we
amendments? Oh,
repeat those changes one more time?
Yes. Move workshop, item O to L1A, and then remove L5.
Are there any more amendments? Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yes, there is one. I'd like to move L2 to above L1, but after L1A, or Rose's O workshop, making that L1A. So I'd just move 2 to the top, right after the workshop.
B.
L1B.
Okay, so there was a motion and a second. Do we all, whoever motioned and who made the second, are you guys all in agreement to that? Or any more discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the amendments.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to public comment. Oh, did I skip? Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped minutes.
Minutes.
Wait, there are none.
You did a good job.
Sorry, trying to move it along. Thank you very much. Okay, first is John Walters.
CJ's here.
Oh, sorry, John, one second. Let the record reflect that trustee McNaughton arrived at 6:45. Go ahead, Mr. Walters.
Okay. I'd like to start with prayer like I usually do. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, bless each participant at this meeting. Pour out your grace upon them. Grant them strength, and may your favor rest upon each and every individual gathered here. Cultivate humility in our interactions during this meeting. May we approach one another with grace, acknowledge our dependence on you, and valuing each other's perspective. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. I would like to talk about something that I've noticed. There were a lot of people in the past few years that came up here. The father of the first Homer Glen property tax, Keith Gray, being one of them. There was a parade of people coming up here complaining about legal bills that were like $4,000 or $5,000 a month. I'm not seeing them come up here and talk about 32K that's on the agenda today. But that they had a problem with $4,000 and $5,000. Right now, we're about $42,000 over budget, and we still have 3 months to go in this year for our legal bills. That's 30% over budget already. 30% over budget already on legal bills. I don't understand why we have $30,000 plus legal bills coming here all the time when people complained about $4,000 or $5,000 ones. I wonder where they are. Where are the people complaining about the legal bills that used to come up here every meeting and complain about the legal bills? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Brianna Goody. Hi.
Hello. Good evening, members of the village board. My name's Brianna. I'm very nervous.
It's okay. Just breathe.
Okay. My name's Brianna Glaudy. I'm a Homer Glen resident for the past 4.5 years. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight about an issue that I and many other residents have encountered with Illinois American Water, the IAW. On January 7th of this year, I received a water bill for $559.47. To say I was shocked would be an understatement. Typically, our winter water bills range between $245 and $260. This bill claims that my household used 18,500 gallons of water between December 5th and January 5th, and that's over 3 times our normal usage of 5,000 to 7,000 gallons for this time of year. I immediately called the IAW, and they sent a technician out the next morning, which was great. He confirmed that there were no leaks, the meter was running properly, and he reviewed the data with me that suggested we had water running at full force for 4 consecutive days, starting at 3 a.m. on December 8th and ending at 3 a.m. on December 12th. But here's the problem. It doesn't make any sense. My family was home that whole time. We would have noticed water running. We would have heard or smelled or seen something for 4 days straight. If it had been outside, there would have been clear signs like standing water, mud, or damage, none of which were present, and all of our spigots have been winterized every year by December 1st. And if there were a leak, it wouldn't have magically stopped after 4 days. Even the technician, Taylor Brown, the IAW technician that they sent me, admitted that something wasn't adding up, and he encouraged me to fight the bill and mentioned that this isn't an isolated incident and that IAW has a reputation for questionable billing practices. While on the phone yesterday, the billing specialist, Ashley, I was speaking to her because I have printed everything to show you. I don't know if anybody cares to see it. But I saw a screenshot of the like the layout, what days my bill was sent?
30
what
seconds.
amount? Oh, geez, okay.
That's okay. If you need more time, we can grant you more time.
Well, I had a screenshot from December 7th when I first looked at my bill, and it said one thing, and then when I went yesterday, the numbers had been changed on historical documents in their file. So when I asked her about it, she said, oh, there's just a glitch. So how is my bill might be a glitch, is what I'm thinking. So, okay. After discussing this with neighbors, I discovered an alarming number of similar stories. Several have shared their bills have spiked with claims of tens of thousands of gallons of water usage, only to have no plausible explanation provided by IAW.
Brianna, I'm going to stop you for just 1 second, just to be fair. Is there a motion to grant?
I'll make that motion.
I'm almost
All
done.
in favor?
Aye.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Many were forced to either pay the inflated bills or to settle for reduced but unreasonable amounts. My neighbors, the Bagzinskis at 12563 Home Drive, had almost an identical issue of 10,000 gallons added to their January 2024 bill in the middle of the night over a 4-day span. Also, our neighbors, the Chirillos, my 2 senior citizen friends that are with me, received a bill last week for over $377 for the 2 of them. Okay, so I'm here tonight to ask that this board stand with us. Myself, I have 125 signatures of other people that were upset about this too. The residents, to ask that this pattern of fraudulent billing practices be addressed. Why are we still using a company with a history of questionable billing practices? Who will hold the Illinois, the IAW accountable for these baseless charges? How can we ensure that residents are not forced to pay for water that they did not use? My family, like many others, cannot afford a $600 water bill based on unsubstantiated claims. We need transparency and action to address this issue. I urge this board to investigate these complaints and advocate for the residents of our village to ensure no one is taken advantage of by a utility provider that we rely on. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And Brianna, if you don't mind, I don't know when you plan on leaving, but if you can at least wait to my report. Okay. All right, next is Diane Cernak. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Diane Cernak. I've lived in Homer Glen since 1960. I'm speaking about the road expansion, 143rd, proposed. I just want to go over a couple things with this, because on February 15th, on 2024, the mayor of Orland Park came to our meeting. And I felt he spoke down to us, telling us that we needed to vote for the expansion because he wanted the road to go to Orland Park. He also said in the speech that he has new roads, nice shopping. Basically he's saying we want to get the people there. I was pretty offended by that, but oh well. I'm sorry, I'm just getting nervous here.
You're amongst friends, it's fine.
I know that, but I get upset over this. So anyway, he did his little speech, did his little thing, and he walked out. So what business does Cook County have in Will County? I don't understand why it was so important for him to come to Will County, because basically we used to be nothing. And Cook County is everything. So that's, Cook County. Okay, so on the same day, February 15th, 2024, we voted on the expansion on 143rd Street, which now we need to rename is the Road to Orland Park, instead of to Rome. Okay, so they read at the meeting 500 plus emails of people sending in their vote. And at first, The group did not want to read them. It would take too long. Well, I believe by law you have to read them because those are the people speaking. And out of those, I counted on one hand. It was 500 plus. I don't know exactly, so I'm saying 500. Could have been 10 more, I don't know. But anyway, on one hand, I counted 5 no's. And the rest were, 5 yeses for the expansion. The other 500 were all no's for the expansion.
30 seconds.
Okay? So with that, it was signed and approved, the vote went through, we won the vote, okay? Then what happened was, the next day, it was filed and signed, then the next day after that, it was vetoed. So we lost the vote. I believe this is totally illegal. Someone is getting something for this. We're going to and once the expansion is here, we're going to have toll road walls. You're going to have the truck traffic, obviously. They haven't even told us how much money is set aside for increases. You know, when there's a highway, there's always underestimated.
Ms. Cernak, I'm going to stop you one more time, just before you can continue, but I just need to get it. Is there a motion to allow?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All
I'll
in
be
favor?
real quick. I'll be real quick, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so how much money is set aside for increases? Plus, we're going to lose, once they widen the street, it's going to be at least 100-plus-year-old trees are going to be gone. There's going to be at least 100 homes and properties that are going to be eliminated, and a lot of people have property that will be quite shortened. So anyway, we are also designated as an international sky community. So you run a road through that looks like a toll road through with all the lights and everything, that is lost. The animals, the wildlife, everything. I really care about that, but that's what I wanted to bring up. Real quick, we did have the Homer Glen magazines that were mailed out to us at one time. I'm sure all of you saved yours, because I've saved every single one. The one main part, and this is real short, it just said that Homer Glen looks like it did when it was first settled in 1836. Its enduring character has been protected thanks to the efforts involved of citizens who fought the tide of development. And they have beautiful photos in here of everything. And they tell us, or they lied to us, what we were going to be able to keep. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mike Bonomo?
First of all, do you guys want to take another picture with Trustee McDonald here with the children for the...
No, he was late. He's punished for that.
All right, I was just wondering if you want to throw it in there. I just, give you a little break.
Thank you for offering that.
So, good evening, everybody. Good evening, trustees and mayor and everyone here. What I'm here to talk about is, it's an event that I put together for tomorrow at Homer Junior High. It involves sexting, cyberbullying, which, I don't want to bring that up, and other things, but it's geared towards children in our neighborhood. I was just Googling some stuff here, and 88% of our teens from 13 to 18 now have smartphones. So so you put 10 kids together, 8 out of 10 have a smartphone. And out of them, 20%, so 2 out of those 10 have received a sext, and 35% have received one. Or 20 have sent them out, 35 have received them. That's pretty disgusting, in my view. 40% of kids have been bullied online. 1 in 4 have had it happen more than once. And then another stat that's really troubling, 15% of adolescents have been cyberbullied. 13.6% of adolescents have made a serious suicide attempt. Now, when I came into office, I'm a Homer Township trustee, I focus on the seniors. And I do a lot of events for them, and over time, we've lost a few, and it's troubling. But children are our future, and the last thing we want to do is for them to read about suicide and attempted suicides, which is pretty bad in itself. So I thought, and I have a neighbor that lives right behind me, Detective Rich Wasaki is retired. And what he does for a living is he conducts classes and stuff on cyberbullying, sexting, and he goes after child predators. And I know Rose knows him most of the people in this room have encountered him. So I took it upon myself. He's my neighbor. I call him Rich. He's a retired detective. And I thought, why don't you, conduct a class on these things? So he has done in the past. I think about, someone said in the school he did about 3 years ago. So I went to Superintendent Shoppy and I told him, I said, is there any way we could conduct a class? He said the perfect timing is Christmas is over, they're getting ready, these kids are getting ready for junior high, high school, whatever. It's a good time to do an event like this. So we coordinated it. And so tomorrow, Thursday, on the 23rd, from 7 to 8:30 in Homer Junior High, as a Homer Township Board, we sponsored it, but it is not a political event. It's designed to protect our children. He will host an in-person informational training for parents, grandparents on how we can keep our kids safe on their gaming platforms, technology, and social media. Detective Wostocki, nationally recognized high technology child crime specialist, will be presenting protective strategies, expert insight, and invaluable resources designed to empower our families to combat cyberbullying and sexting. Parents are encouraged to bring their child's device or hands-on experience in learning what they are using. And 2 seconds with Detective Rich Wostocki, this is a little bio on him, so this guy's the real deal, travels all over the world. He was on Dr. Phil, for those who watch that, which I don't, but he was on that show like a week or so ago. He's a child crime expert. Detective Rich Wostocki has dedicated his career to helping children by tirelessly pursuing, apprehending, and prosecuting child predators. As an active cybercrime detective, he educates law enforcement using cutting-edge investigative techniques and parent students on responsible digital activity. I mean, he's got a grocery list of accolades and accomplishments, and I mean, this guy's the real deal. And so I encourage everyone to go. Bringing your kid's device without your kid might be a challenge, but you might want to bring them both. But this guy, and he says it like it is, and he gets pretty down and dirty about what he says. I mean, this is 2 out of 10 kids are attempting suicide over this is ridiculous. So, like I said, it was something that I came up with, and on February 11th, we're going to be doing the same thing in Lockport.
I'm going to stop you.
Now.
If you're not done, you can continue.
Oh, okay, I'm
okay.
pretty much wrapping it up. I was going to say February 11th, we're going to announce one in Lockport for the high school students, more or less. But this one was geared towards 33C children and the community, but anyone could attend. We have room for about 500 people. So
I'll make the motion for
we'll have the auditorium in Lockport.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So,
Is there a second? Just to cover you, Mike. All right, all in favor?
Go.
Okay, go ahead.
So you got 3 extra minutes, Mike.
No, I don't need it, but I pretty much said
where
it.
it's located and the time tomorrow?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I did, it's at Homer Junior High. The address is 15711 South Bell Road, and it's from 7 to 8:30. I would encourage people to get there a little bit earlier, of course. They have some events going on there in the gymnasium. That's why I couldn't get it. But again, Superintendent Shoppy, he's been very gracious with me doing events and all, and he was ecstatic to do this. And, giving us the platform to do this for his children. I mean, you can't ask for more. So, any questions or anything like that? But I appreciate you. You were doing a couple blast outs or a blast out. But again, this is an event for the children of Homer Glen. It is for nothing else. So, just want to say that. In Homer Township. Thank you.
Thank you.
Job well done, Mike.
Next up is Michael Clausen.
Hello, everybody. On behalf of my family and myself, I'd like to thank the Village Board for your continued service to the community. I truly understand how invasive that can be in your personal lives, from experience myself. My name is Michael Clausen. I'm a Homer Township trustee, and I've been moved by a lot of the public comments tonight. This has been, very impressive public comment session. Kind of knocked me off guard. But I will continue. So I am here over agenda item L2. It is a consideration for approval of professional service fee waiver for Homer Township in the amount of $9,720.64 for the Homer Township Civic Center property located at 15744 West 151st Street, Homer, Glen, Illinois. I saw that and I threw a suit on and came over here. So I would respectfully request the board to consider that waiver for a number of reasons. For those of you who don't know, I've been tasked with the project management aspect of it in representation of the Homer Township board. And just for the construction aspect of this, this specific item, we have a annexation agreement, and in our annexation agreement, we're not going to fee each other. Village, township, says it in there a number of times, specifically section 5A, the owner, which is the township, shall not be required to pay permit fees for construction on the subject property. There's other fee language in there as well. We're not going to, this fee is very petty in the sense of what you'll receive out of this building. This building is something that Homer doesn't have. Township, village, we don't have something like this. We're not going to charge the village for using it. We're going to be using this thing. I have a feeling we're going to be, I could go on and on about this. I'm probably already running out of time. It is an awesome
30 seconds.
addition. Yeah, that went fast.
We can always give you more time.
Could I have more time, please?
You can, and also,
I'll second it.
all in favor? Aye. I just want to say too, are you going to be the representative when the item comes up as well?
I would like to, that was going to be part of my, that was going to be my ask to the board.
Yeah, we can call you up for
If you
that,
need me
too.
and you want me to call me up when L2 comes up, sure, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So, all things considered, we're not going to charge you guys to use it, the village. I shouldn't say you guys. This building doesn't belong to you. It belongs to all of us, right? This is our community, and we are serving it. And we are public servants in that regard. So the exciting part of this structure, it is going to be a blast. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great thing to be a part of. And all of us are going to be using it. So the fee is pretty petty when in consideration of how long the structure is going to be operating in the community for no charge. For no charge, sister government charge. So with that, I guess I'll sit down and I'll wait for L2 to come up.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to reports. Village Manager, Joe Baber.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Can you turn your microphone on? Is your mic on?
It's on, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'd like to just thank our Public Works and Parks Department for their snow removal and de-icing efforts over the last couple of weeks. I continuously hear good things, that our roads are better than most other communities, surrounding communities. Very, very few complaints, but a lot of kudos do come into the office on what a good job that those departments are doing. I'd also like to thank Ron Kus on his efforts being designated a storm-ready community. I think his actions and moving forward in making us prepared for events in our community is important, and I applaud his continued efforts in that direction. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Village Trustees, we're going to move on to Trustee Consolino.
Okay, please bear with me, I'm a little under the weather tonight. At our last Environment Committee meeting, my members and I had a lot of discussion about littering, and I wanted to ask from the board tonight for some feedback, whether it be, and from the village manager as well, either in old business or via email, what we can possibly do to do a better job of cleaning up our roads from dumping and possibly enforcing littering, maybe with an ordinance and signs. I'd like this board to entertain looking at a sign campaign or even adopt a village road campaign by residents who could maybe sponsor cleaning up designated village roads. I also need to ask if we have do we have a schedule with our Public Works Department for cleaning up waste along our village roads? And if we do not, is this something that we could all work on in the future? My members are extremely passionate about our environment and our community. Most of them all pick up garbage on their own along village roads on a routine basis, and they do this without asking for any recognition. They are sincerely looking to the board for a little assistance at encouraging others in our community to do the same and persuade those who are dumping and littering to stop doing it, maybe with possible signage and code enforcement. Village already has a few code sections that address littering and associated fines. Chapter 166 is about sanitation. Chapter 92 is about maintenance and use of public rights-of-way. And 92-52 is about dumping and littering, but it's for village properties. So please let me know if any of you have any further suggestions and if you would consider a signage campaign. Also, with this being our crazy election season, I was going through something from IML, which is the Illinois Municipal League, and they have what we call a civility pledge. This pledge aims to ensure that communication between local elected officials and appointed officials remains open, honest, and transparent in order to cultivate trust and build relationships. All officials in the Illinois municipalities are encouraged to utilize the resources that IML has developed, which we are a part of, to incorporate the civility pledge wherever possible throughout their respective communities. And what the civility pledge says, it's very simple and very short. In the interest of civility, I pledge to promote civility by listening, being respectful of others, acknowledging that we are all striving to support and improve our community, and understanding that we may each have different ideas for achieving that objective. Sometimes that objective is different, sometimes it's the same. But I would really like if this board could consider reading this pledge on their own, also going to IML. They have other additional resources, 7 keys to a respectful meeting, tips for a meeting moderator, engaging differences, key principles and best practices, engaging difference videos, and democracy innovations for better public meetings. So, and that's all I have to report tonight.
Thank you. Trustee Reinders?
Okay, reporting for the Parks Committee, Parks and Recreation Committee. I have to turn my mic on. At our last meeting, we actually had a presentation. Jennifer, Director Vittori from our Parks and Recreation Department, presented us with a presentation on all of the parks that are located within Homer Glen. We did an evaluation on those parks, and our goal this year is to upgrade and renovate 2 parks for the year. That doesn't mean that we're not going to address some of the other issues in some of the other parks. We have already promised Stonebridge a concrete pad for their pavilion, and we've already promised to look at Lamers Park for our disc golf. So with that said, we went through and so the people that are around the park in that Gorham Park area, we heard everything that you asked for, and we're coming, and this year we are definitely going to concentrate on that park. Also, I'd like to talk about a little bit the tennis courts in Stonebridge. We've been getting some calls saying, you know, that the drainage is still not completed, the proper cleanup for around the tennis courts. Basically, what we're going to be doing in the spring, because it is the winter, there's nothing that we could do about that now, but we will be addressing them come the first part of spring when it gets a little bit warmer. Also, I mentioned the concrete in your park, so in Trustee Mason's park, so that's something that we have addressed, and I know Trustee Stylen is talking to us about Lamers Park, but we're very excited. We've met with some of the disc golf, I don't know why I can never remember that, disc golf people, and they are willing to help us with that. So we think that'll be a great location for them. It's very wild. The terrain would be perfect for disc golf. It won't be like Heritage where we're wide open here and there's really nothing to challenge them. So we're looking forward to working with them on that. One of the other things I wanted to mention also was the cul-de-sac road. Now, I have to tell you, the first snowfall, there were so many kids out there. The whole hill was loaded with kids. And me having a knee replacement, I really wanted to go up there, but
I tried to get her up there.
but my daughter-in-law, who's a nurse practitioner, she said she would kill me if I even thought I was going to walk up that hill. But anyway, with that said, I just want to let everybody know that there were probably 10 cars in the cul-de-sac. So to say that the cul-de-sac road is not going to be of use to anybody, it is. I mean, everybody was there. They had their lights on. They were shining them on the hill. The kids were out there. I did a video, and after I did the video, there was a bunch of families that messaged me and said, I'm so glad you let us know. We all went out there. We bundled up the kids, and we took them out there. So you know what? All the things that we're doing for the park, they're not for us. They're for the residents. And you know what? And so far, it seems like the residents are enjoying them. And as far as A&F goes, it's budgets, our budgets are coming due now. Joe, he's been working with the directors on budgets. So we discussed a little bit with Director Woods on how he needs to up his budget for our concrete, to fix concrete throughout the village. So all the other departments are getting their budgets ready too. So I know that the trustees, if there's anything that we really think we need to talk to our directors about, that we should work on that this week. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Mason?
Yes, I have a few things. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the National Weather Service for the recognition for the village for being storm ready. As the chair of the Public Safety and Public Services, the dedication is mostly due to Ron Cuss and our staff on outstanding service to our community. They keep us all informed. They continually improve our processes, so we can't thank you enough. Also, I'd like to thank Director Brett Woods and his staff, because I watched the ice trucks out there and the salt trucks and taking care of it. Our roads are immaculate, so I appreciate that as well. We just finished a national election, and we all know that elections can have consequences or positive results. A village election mirrors the principles of a national election. It brings campaigns, debates, opportunities for people to unite around shared goals and leadership. It's a testament to the democratic spirit that empowers our community, no matter the size. It is our duty to come together and elect a leader who will best serve our residents and embodies the values of unity, progress, and collaboration. Leadership is not just about governance, it is also about inspiring a collective effort to strengthen the bonds that holds our community together. As we approach this upcoming election, let us reflect on the importance of unity. A divided village or township struggles to make meaningful progress. It weakens the sense of community, diminishes its ability to meet the challenges of the future. Unity is not just a concept for a successful nation, it is essential for the success of our village and townships and our neighborhoods. We should also celebrate the traditions and the events that already bring us together, like Homerfest, and think creatively about new ways to foster connections and collaboration amongst our residents. A thriving community depends on people working together, and together we can achieve far more than we can alone. As we prepare to cast our votes, remember that this election is not just about individual preferences, but about the future we envision for our community. Let us vote for leadership that prioritizes what is best for our township, our village, and ultimately our country. I encourage every resident to mark your calendar for February 25th and exercise your right to vote. Together, let's build a stronger, more united community. That's it.
Thank you. Trustee Fialko.
Thank you. What I'd like to do is start off by saying happy birthday to Trustee McNaughton on the 30th of January. It will be his birthday. So happy birthday to you. The other thing is, Diane, from 143rd Street, that is a very important, this board here has had a meeting about that. The two lawyers had talked about those issues. I was to 5 meetings myself, the Will County Transportation meeting, they voted it down. I spoke at the Homer Junior High. I spoke at many of the Will County board meetings, and you are right. The board voted that down. She did not veto it, she signed it. And then she turned around, I don't know if it was a day or 3 days later, whatever it was, she reversed her call on it. She then vetoed it. Now, that is in the court system, so I don't know if you're keeping up with that portion of it or not. But Joe, the date for the next court date for 143rd Street in Will County is on January 30th, I believe, right? Yes, okay, so you're keeping track of that. It's important to be there for that. I'll be there for that, but thank you for coming up to the podium and standing up for the people on 143rd Street. We don't need a main vein cut through the heart of Homer Glen looking like 294, and I believe I've said that at one of the meetings. So thank you for saying that. The next thing is the Boy Scouts that spoke tonight. If you haven't been to, actually the founder of Boy Scouts, I was a Boy Scout myself. William D. Boyce was the founder of the Boy Scouts here in, right here in Illinois. He's buried in Plate, Illinois, right by Starved Rock. If you haven't been to that memorial, that's a nice trip to take the Boy Scouts on to see that and to actually honor that gentleman that started the Boy Scouts in Illinois. The other thing is Rich Wistocki. I know Rich Wistocki very well. He was a detective in Naperville. He was on the SWAT team. He's been traveling across the nation and including being on the Dr. Phil show. He's amazing. This program that he's got, when it first started off, for somebody to get him to speak at their event, it was $10,000. I believe he's given us or the township an extreme discount to be able to do that and to provide that service for his community. So please don't miss that. If you can be there for that, there's a lot to be learned for the adults and the kids. So I think it's an opportunity we don't want to miss. As far as, I'd like to thank John Walters too. We never say this, but long ago, we passed an ordinance to have prayer in our agenda. When leadership changed, we got rid of prayer and made it a moment of silence. But John, you take the time at all of the meetings when you can to come up to that podium and say a prayer. It's amazing the kind words that you use, and I really take notice of that when you do it every time, and thank you for doing that, John. I appreciate it. The other thing is, in our admin and finance meeting, Brett Westcott, I thanked him for what he does. It's amazing to hear this man at work. We've got water reclamation, we got 143rd Street, we've got whatever the subject is when it comes to an engineer. Brett Westcott is a PE as an engineer. He's able to take words, engineering words, put them into layman terms so we all understand exactly what's going on. And I don't think, Brett, you've got enough recognition for that, and we're very fortunate to have you here at the village as an engineer. So thank you for everything you do for this village. All right, and I think that about covers it for now.
All right, thank you. Trustee Stylen?
Thank you. Our next Community Development Committee meeting is next Tuesday, so I don't really have much to report on that yet. We're excited about some events. Tonight on our agenda is approving the 2025 events calendar. And just a lot of thank you to Dan Waddick. He's going to be here to say something about that, I believe. Also, to the woman who spoke, I think her name was Brianna, about the Illinois American Water fraudulent bills. I find that very concerning, and I just assure you that the rest of this board is with you in that fight. And also, I just wanted to say congratulations to the Public Safety Committee and Ron Kuss for the recognition on the Storm Ready. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee McNaughton?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Trustee Fialko, for the early birthday wishes. I appreciate that.
You didn't say how old you're going to be.
Yeah.
39?
Exactly. Once again. Thank you for the public commentary as well around 143rd. We have continued conversations around that as a board. It's a very important issue. Illinois American Water and their alleged mispractices that continue. We've had numerous rigorous debates in executive session. Thank you for continuing to bring this to the surface. Trustee Reinders, also just a comment on Parks and Recreation and the sledding hill. I've enjoyed that many times with my kids recently. If we could do something about the temperature down there, it's been a little cold recently. Maybe a mobile hot chocolate cart as well would be excellent. But outside of that, thank you so much.
This would have been good too.
Yes, also correct.
My way around the snow, hoping I wasn't going to fall.
And congrats also to the village on being storm ready and being recognized for that as well. Thank you.
All right, village clerk.
Just a reminder, for the February 25th, 2025 primary election, early voting is taking place right now at the Will County Clerk's office located at 302 North Chicago Street in Joliet, Illinois. You can visit willcountyclerk.gov for the time schedule, and that's it.
Okay. Village attorney.
Good evening, everyone. Real quick, the mayor had asked me to just touch base briefly on a couple of things. In regards to Illinois American Water, I can share with you that our firm has been in contact with the Attorney General's office, and we're sharing some information that we have in regards to the practices of Illinois American Water. We're not sure at this point where that's going to go. We're not the attorneys or the agency that's charged and that has the statutory authority to conduct investigations and do those things, but we have connected with them, and we'll continue to do so. I want to thank Ms. Gould, who spoke earlier today about her experiences in dealing with Illinois American Water. I can share with you, and I'm committed to making sure that information gets relayed to the Illinois Attorney General's office as well. Secondly, our firm also will be contacting the Will County State's Attorney's office. The local state's attorneys also have more authority to conduct investigations, to do those things, and we'll be connecting with them. We have yet to, but we will be connecting with them as well, is that's another alternative avenue that the mayor had directed us to explore to try to assist the residents. That's what we have in regards to IAW. There are some other things that are going on that I've been working with the engineering department on, but those plans are too premature at this point to share with you publicly. But please rest assured that we are working on all options to try to assist with this current, very difficult situation with IAW. Secondly, in regards to 143rd Street, the mayor and the village board has asked that I periodically provide you all with some updates. Now, we are not the attorneys that are handling that litigation, as we all know, or most of us know. There's litigation that's currently pending in the Circuit Court of Will County, and that's captioned Judy O'Gala et al. Versus Jennifer Bertino-Tarrant. And there we have Will County commissioners in their official capacities have brought suit against Jennifer Bertino-Tarrant in her executive president capacity, challenging the veto action. As we all know, we're not the attorneys that are handling that litigation, and we've already shared and discussed this to the public for the reasons why multiple times previously. We're not going to get into that. But the law firm that is currently representing those folks, I can share with you that they filed a petition to appoint a special state's attorney. That petition was granted, and I'm going to share, just give you the updates that I have. We have updates, just to share with the public. We have updates because we have access to various dockets that the public would have to physically go down to the Will County courthouse and get access to it. We have quicker access to it because of our licensure as attorneys, so we're able to get quicker access, not better access, but quicker access than most folks would be able to. So back in October, and I could share with you all that back in October, I'll strike that, back on November 11th, November 11th, the court signed an order granting the petition for the appointment of a state's attorney. When that happens, by law, the judge who granted that petition for the appointment of a special state's attorney is required to reach out to all the local state's attorneys and agencies to see if any of them will come in and fulfill the appointment as a special state's attorney. So I'm not the judge, but I'm sure most judges, they're going to follow the law. They've sent notices out to various local branches and state's attorneys and other law enforcement agencies that have staff to see if they'll come in and handle that case. I can share with you, too, that a motion to reconsider that court's order was filed on December 12th. That was fully briefed. On the last court date on January 6th, the indication from the record here was that the court is taking that matter on our advisement. So there was an order granting the appointment of a special state's attorney. The folks that are opposing that filed a motion to reconsider that court's ruling on that issue, and that matter now is pending, and it was taken under advisement by the court. The next court date is January 30th at 9 a.m., courtroom 902, okay? That's going to, more likely than not, that's going to be for the court's ruling on the motion to reconsider, and hopefully at that time the court will share with everyone on whether or not any of the local state's attorneys and such have agreed to stand in and act as the special state's attorney on that case, okay? More likely than not, there's not going to be anything substantive other than that taking part in that particular day. So that's what's happening in regards to 143rd Street. I also want to share too that there is most of us know that there's an IGA between the city of Lockport and also the village of Homer Glen. That IGA, and I've spoken many times in the past about this, the cookie cutter Cliff Note version of it is that IGA obligates them to treat our wastewater in certain areas of the village of Homer Glen through 2030. We're going to be meeting with them in the next couple of weeks to try to resolve some issues that we've come up with, to try to resolve that to avoid any additional costs, any additional delays, so that we can put that matter behind us. So that's going to be taking place within the next couple of weeks. And Madam Mayor, that's the only report that we have.
Okay, thank you. Public safety officials? Okay, all right, my report. I think Mr. Bonomo had left, but yes, I think that event is needed in our community now. I also think it's important that as adults, we set an example that we need to stop the cyberbullying and stop going on Facebook pages and attacking one another. I know that if we're going to teach parents about how to protect our children see what's going on Facebook. And they can take that to heart as well. Mike talked about the suicide rate for children. Adults also have mental health issues regarding to bullying and attacks and so forth. So I think this event is very important. I encourage everybody to go. If you can't make the event tomorrow at Homer Junior High from 7 to 8:30, there will be another one at the Lockport High School. The same gentleman will be putting the same event on. And so I think it's very important. I don't know the dates of the one for the high school, but I'm sure we can get it out there and post it out there somewhere. But I think it's very important not just for the parents to learn how to protect their children, but to protect themselves as well. The next thing is Attorney Pasquinelli had stated about 143rd Street. I want everyone to understand one thing. This board had inherited this problem that was created 20 years ago. This problem of the expansion of 143rd Street came about 20 years ago. When I became the mayor in 23, that was one of the first things I reached out to the Will County Board about, Vince Logan, Mr. Balich, and asked them to assist and help. We went through staff, we went through all the documents, information, to see how we can stop this. And I'm thankful that the county board voted to stop it. I'm disappointed in the veto. And we're doing everything we can to stop it. We're trying to even come up with other ways to have standing in this case as well. And as Mike said, we have to wait to see what special state's attorney is appointed so we can hopefully move forward on this. Oh, go ahead.
And we've actually thrown our name in the hat to act as a special state's attorney, but by law and by statute, it first needs to go to all the public agencies first, and if they turn it all down, then the court will go through a series of law firms and folks and make an assessment and determination on which attorney's law office will be appointed as the special state's attorney.
And in regards to the meetings, I went to all of them. I was even at the one where Mayor Pekow had spoke. In fact, I believe there was like a petition with local mayors that signed it because they wanted the expansion. You're 100% right. It's a pass-through to Cook County. That's all it is. I had several conversations with those mayors that signed the petition and gotten many arguments and still don't talk to half of them to this day, which is fine. But I know that there are other mayors on this side in Will County that don't want it. So I'm trying to work with them as well, secretively, so this case doesn't blow up in the other direction. So we are working on stopping that expansion as well. I want to touch base about the Illinois American Water, which is huge. Brett, can you do me a favor? The last board meeting, you had talked about how the Illinois American Water, how that went down, because a lot of people are assuming that the first mayor of Homer Glen had sold the pipe. Would you be willing to elaborate on what you did last board meeting on how that actually went down? So there's just an understanding of how this all took place.
Yeah, absolutely. So back before Homer Glen became Homer Glen, when it was just a township, there was development back in the day of some of the subdivisions that we have in the northeastern corners of the village, right, that were served by what is now, was then private utilities. So developers were coming in, building these subdivisions. There was no town or public utilities to serve these subdivisions. The subdivisions were too dense to be utilizing a well and septic like the properties on the west side of the village and the southern side of the village. So there was a need for private utilities. That's when Citizens Utility came in. They constructed the 3 wastewater plants that exist in the village today. And then they also constructed the trunk line that runs to the water tower there off of 151st Street. And all of those things serve those subdivisions. There was a point in time previously when Citizens Utility was, I believe they declared bankruptcy, or they were selling the business. There was a previous point in time when the township was looking into purchasing that. Eventually they opted not to do that because it would have been too expensive for them at the time. At that point, Illinois American stepped in, they purchased all the utilities, and then they have owned it ever since.
So the village never sold our line to anyone, correct?
The utilities have always been private. They've never been publicly owned.
I just want to make sure that's very clear, because I know there's a lot of rumors out there that the village sold our destiny. That is not the case. So with that being said, before I became the mayor, I was the village clerk, and I was only privy to small details, little information about this history and where the village was moving forward with Illinois American Water. Once I became mayor, my first and sole goal is to help fix this water issue, the costs, the skyrocketing rates. I believe those were my exact words. Every time I walk in this village, I ask the village manager and the attorneys for an update on where we're at. When I first became mayor, it was April of 23. I believe it was in May of 23 when I've got a phone call from some people, and we began investigating it. It is taking this long, and at the next board meeting, we will have an update on what has been going on for the last 2 years. It won't be very detailed because we can't, as you know, give out all the information in fear of it being hindered whatever our steps are moving forward. But there is a lot going on. Just like Ms. Goody and Brianna, who spoke, you're not the only one who has said this, and we're aware. We're asking for every resident to come forward. We've had some residents come forward about $1,000 water bill or $500 water bill or many issues, and we have that all stacked up, ready to go for when it's needed. So we are working on it. I don't know if you left your phone number so we can actually call. We've called Illinois American Water in the past and helped residents with this same situation and issue. So we're happy to help there, but you're a big piece of the puzzle, right? But you're just one of many that this has happened to. This is not the first time I've heard of this. So this is all part of what's going on, okay? So we are working on it, and like I said, we'll have some more information hopefully coming soon. The next thing is the attorney bills. Joe, can you clarify, are we over budget? Because I believe I asked 2 weeks ago, and we were not over budget on our attorney bills? Unless we went crazy the last 2 weeks.
I'd like to just check the specifics of that and report back on exactly where we are.
Yeah, because I looked 2 weeks ago, so unless something changed over the last 2 weeks, it's news to me. But I can say, I agree, the attorney bills are high, no offense, Mr. Attorney. I said, I do believe that, but we're getting a lot done. There's a lot going on. We have things with residents that we're fighting constantly. We have issues going on, and we have the wastewater treatment plant. We have big projects going on. Again, before, when I was the clerk, things really didn't seem to be moving because we didn't have a unified board, and now we sort of do, and we're all starting to move in the right direction and get stuff done to move forward in Homer Glen. So attorneys are expensive. So I agree, we got to watch what we spend. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Baber.
I'd just like to say, I think in the last year or so, we've taken on a lot of initiatives with property purchases, with some things that are beyond our control regarding different things that were unanticipated. So with the budget, the next year's budget coming up and those discussions, I think we'll reevaluate what our budget are for attorneys. And I foresee our legal bills to be coming down in the next few months based on the activity that we've seen in the last few months, which were a little costly. But for instance, Illinois American and our actions against them, you know, that's something that's going to be coming forward, and obviously our attorney's involved with that. What those costs are, you know, they are what they are. We're doing this on our residents.
Right, and I know that you review all the attorney bills, and everyone gets a copy of the attorney bills. In A&F, we have 4 trustees on the A&F committee that review them with a fine-tooth comb. So there's no scamming on the attorney bills. They're all legit.
May I answer your question, though?
I didn't ask
An answer that came from finance. I asked the same exact
Okay,
question.
can I finish what I'm saying first?
Yeah, but
and
I'd
then-
like to be able to give you your answer.
Okay, that's great. If you just let me finish real fast. So we are getting things done. The attorneys are accomplishing a lot of things. And like Joe said, I'm hoping now that we've got a lot of things in order. But again, we got this Illinois American Water issue. That's not going to be cheap. Everything that we do has to come with an attorney. So we have to protect ourselves and the residents as well. We have 143rd Street. We had Parker Headley Road. These are things that did not happen in the previous administration. So as of right now, we have a lot on our plate, and we're trying. What did you say, Joe? Oh, go ahead and answer the question if you'd like.
The question doesn't just come up to one person. We get asked this all the time. Our fiscal year budget, year to date right now, as of 12/31/2024, our budget was $150,000. We're at $159,586. So we are over budget. I think the concern comes from $30,000 bills, and we have 5 more months yet to go in our fiscal year. And if you put that all together, you're going to be, we would end up being $150,000 over budget. Now, have we had things that we had to spend money on? I agree that we do. But, you know, maybe because we have a budget coming up, we could put a more realistic number, just like we did with Homerfest, as our budget number. And that's been done before. But I do know, just like everybody, there had been complaints previously. In 2021, ending in April, the budget was $100,000, and that board was $170,369. In 2022, the budget was $120,000, and only $108,997 was spent. In 2023, the budget was $175,000.
You wanted to answer the question that I asked, so that was great. If you want to talk about it.
You asked about numbers.
No,
I'm
so
giving you.
here, why don't we talk about it in new business?
Okay.
I think it would be great to talk about it there,
But
only because this is my
Your question was
report.
to Joe, though, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah, and
had
you
to
answered
answer,
it,
that's
right,
all.
so you answered it and we're good.
Okay, we're over
So-
budget, and it doesn't look good.
Perfect,
That's
okay,
all.
I understand, but you also
Thank you.
stated you agreed that there are reasons
Yes,
we needed to extend it.
absolutely.
So, okay, all right, good. So the last thing is the Ability Awareness Committee. It's growing. We went from 5 to 7, and now we have 9. So we're really growing. The special needs community in Homer Glen really sticks together, and we need to really take the time and support them. Recently, there was a post made that offended them greatly. I just want to let the residents know that there is no room, zero tolerance for making fun of anybody, especially with special needs. So, moving on. So we're going to move to consent agenda. Consider for approval the accounts payable for the period of January 10th, 2025 through January 23, 2025 in the amounts of $516,778.58. 2, consider for approval the treasurer's report of cash and investments for the period ending October 31st, 2024 in the amounts of $47,880,490.01. 3, consider for approval payment to J&F Concrete Lifting for the completion of concrete lifting program for 2024 to 2025 in the amount of $12,375. 4, consider for approval payment to Davis Concrete Construction Company for the completion of 2024-2025 curb and sidewalk repair placement program in the amount of $156,347.48. And 5, consider for approval accepting the bid proposal from Playtopia for the design, procurement, and installation of playground equipment at Villas of Old Oak Park not to exceed the amount of $475,047.46. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Trustee Reinders, trustee Fialko. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Abstain.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, moving on to legislation and action items. 1, consider for approval an ordinance granting a variance to permit a mix of stone, stucco, and fiber cement siding materials on the first floor of the dwelling in lieu of the exterior construction standards, 75-67A, applicability and scope, type of building or structure of the Code of Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located in the A1 Agricultural District at 12156 West 179th Street, Mokina, Illinois. Is there a
I'll make that motion.
Order, though? Did we not change it that we were going to have the workshop before that item?
No, 1A.
1A. We're still on 1.
1A, you're 1B. This is,
Usually we say 1A, 1B, then 1. But,
No.
okay,
All
all right, I
right.
just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Is there a motion?
I made that motion.
Trustee Mason?
I'll second it.
Trustee Fialko. Trustee Mason, do you have any discussion?
I drove by there. I know the area. I drive through there all the time going to my son's house. There's, excuse me, other houses very similar. I think this is going to be beautiful. It's nothing that we haven't done in the past. It's a kind of a rural area, so absolutely.
Trustee Fialko?
Yes, thank you. Just to give a synopsis of this variance, which we have done many times in many places, whether there's an HOA or not, this parcel sits on 9 acres of land. Its setback is 466 feet. It's 205 feet from the nearest home. According to Casey, there is no HOA, though. There's no opposition from anybody, and anyway, we have no opposition from any of the homeowners that are adjacent to that property, so I support it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to workshop, letter O, discussion regarding aggregate energy. Welcome.
One, thank you for moving me up in the agenda. That's always appreciated. 2, just a side comment. I do want to agree. I think I go to hundreds of board meetings in Illinois all the time. The public comments were just fascinating and came from the heart. So I just appreciate that, and I just wanted to make that of note. My name is Adam Hoover. I work with NIMEC. We are an energy consultant for about 120 municipalities in Illinois. We work primarily with water pumping and streetlights. We'll leave that for later because that's not what we're discussing today. What we're discussing today is a potential municipal aggregation restart of your program. NIMEC currently has about 50 active programs. 40 of them are this program we're proposing today, this ComEd rate match, and we serve about over 1 million residents in Illinois with this program. What we are recommending and suggesting today is restarting a program that would be moving some residents' power to our winning supplier, MC². All residents would have the ability to opt in the program or opt out. If a resident has solar or their own supplier or they're on the hourly program, or in other words, they made a previous decision, they would not be included in this program. They would just be notified. For those residents that are on ComEd, many of them would be moved over to our supplier, MC². They would still be billed by MC². Oh, my font didn't go over well. ComEd would continue to bill, and ComEd would continue to deliver their energy, so there would be no change there, and they would be charged the same as a ComEd rate. So virtually no savings, no benefit to the resident. I want to be very clear. We try to find savings. That's the old program that Homer Glen used to run in about 2015. We've come up with this new program that does not offer any savings. It does not offer any harm, guaranteed. You will never pay more than the ComEd rate. So why run the program if there is no benefit to the resident, right? So we have we've come up with a menu of options of things that you guys could all see in front of you. So option number 1 is you guys could receive an annual Civic payment of $40,000. That can go to anywhere, the Parks Department, lawyer fees, general funds, environmentally friendly projects. Doesn't bother us, wherever you want them to. Second option is you could get about 10 million kilowatts of renewable energy. So the renewable energy that our supplier would be creating would be green energy. This would put you in about number 30 in the nation, the amount of renewable energy created by a community. You would become an EPA green powered community, which doesn't come with any financial benefits. You do get another highway sign, but there is no tangible benefits of that besides renewable energy. Or you could kind of do a combo. If you did the 5 million kilowatt hours of renewable energy, you would still become an EPA green community, and you could either get $20,000, or you could help about 10 residents receive free electricity in their supply. Just to be clear, what PIPP residents are, they're not the lowest income. We can't help with that, and I don't want to explain why, but just trust me, we can't. But there's about 10 residents who have a budget billing, and they pretty much still pay full amounts to ComEd, but they just pay it in one flat fee that they kind of divide over 12 months. So we could help those 10 residents receive free energy supply. So I'll stop there because I'm throwing a lot at you, and I'll answer any questions and see how I can help.
How do you want to handle it?
Do you have a question? No?
Will.
Go ahead, you have a question to ask?
Sue's got one.
Oh.
Yeah, just to clarify,
Yep.
so that $20,000 Civic payment, is that in addition to the $40,000, or is that part of the $40,000?
No, that would be, so think of these as option 1, 2, or 3. You can only choose option 1, 2, or 3.
Okay.
Option 3 has a combination of, you could still get the 5 million kilowatt hours, and you could still get $20,000. Good question.
So what would the purpose of being, giving option 3, 20, with the 5 kilowatts, and then the 10 residents?
It's only 2 of those, just to be clear.
I
So
see.
you could choose 2 of those 3.
But why would, all right, so if you chose 2, how do you, you're saying something that's a much bigger facility, like a building or something, right? A business, what?
Who would be
10 residents?
Oh, those are just, so in that option, the third option in that one, yeah, those are just 10 residents who are part of a budget program, that have signed up for a budget program. They're likely struggling financially. I'm not guaranteeing that, but that would be my assumption. And so you could help those 10 residents out, and you could still receive $20,000 on top of that.
I understand.
Yep,
Thank
sorry
you.
about that. Good question.
No, understood.
My turn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have a business, correct?
Correct.
You're not MC squared, though, right?
I'm not MC squared.
So you're a middleman between the two, that's one, right? You're a business. And so let's address the big, the elephant question in the room.
Yeah.
Where do you make your money?
Oh, from the supplier.
From the supplier.
Do you want to know how the supplier makes money?
You want to explain briefly how that works?
Yep, and so that's just a little bit of the confusion of this this program, and I have these charts here to help explain that. So
Okay.
how does MC squared make money? Because ultimately there's no cost to you. You guys will never pay me a cent. So how do you get a program where you just get $40,000? Well, what MC squared and us have kind of come up with is a creative way to study every resident and find what we call their load factor, or in other words, cost to serve. So in the graph above there, let's just say the ComEd rate is about 7.5 cents. Everyone in the green, in the circled, would be moved over to MC squared, still being charged the ComEd rate of 7.5 cents, but they are only costing 6 cents to serve, hypothetically. So that's where MC squared makes their profit. Then what they do is they leave residents who are in the red, who cost more than 7.5 cents to serve. They are remaining with ComEd. A reminder, every single resident is still paying the ComEd rate, and there is no change to their billing or any of that. So they're doing a study that ComEd doesn't do, and they have found a way to profit off that.
Okay. The other thing is, ComEd is into distribution. ComEd, you're right, the energy source, they don't really care.
They like
it stays
aggregation.
the same. If somebody from Homer Glen call, if they're with MC Square, I know, if they call, they would still call ComEd if they had a wire down, if they were out of power, ComEd still repairs it. I know all that.
Good.
But as far as putting a benefit to only one or a couple people and not spreading that throughout everybody, seems a little hard to swallow. I don't like one person benefiting and not sharing that with everybody. That I don't care for myself. As far as the green energy, you might have a problem in the future with that clause. Green energy is subsidized by the taxpayers and is not sustainable without the taxpayers paying money towards it at this moment. And I think that part of it's going to have a lot of challenges with this new administration in the future. But anyway, that's basically it. To opt in, I think with this program, the people should have to opt in. We shouldn't have to opt out. should not take the choice away from people. That is where I'm at with that. You said that you could opt in or you could opt out, but
Correct.
you weren't real clear if you came into the village, would people be automatically put in, you're expecting them to opt out, or are you expecting them to opt in, but if they opt in, they still have the option to opt out?
Yep.
The best scenario for our residents is that they have to opt in if they choose to, and then they also then have the, so go ahead.
Yeah, all good points. It's hard to address all of those. Let me get to a couple of them that I can at least remember. One, the reason it's a state law, they don't run an aggregation program where you have to have an opt-in. That's just, that's like a person who knocks on your door. We could send letters out, but there wouldn't be the same type of you wouldn't be able to receive $40,000 if it was an opt-in program. And also it's a state law. So
you're saying you're not giving the choice to the residents, they automatically would be put.
So my counter to that, that's a good, I get your point. My counter to that would be voters approved this in a referendum. So voters specifically approved a voter referendum in 2012 to approve of this program. So voters did get a choice in my opinion. And then second of all, if anyone wants to opt out or opt in, and I'll get to your point in a second, they have the ability to do so. It's not everyone that would have to opt out of the program. Like I said, anyone who has made a previous decision would just be notified of the program. So if you've done your solar, you did a different supplier, pretty much anyone who hasn't made a decision, who is with ComEd as their supplier, they would be included in the program and they would have to opt out. We would be here to help out with that. I would come by and stop and talk to Joe and Gia about the phone calls, and I would be able to address and take all of them. And also we have a permanent opt-out list. So let's say you guys did a 5-6 year deal and you get $40,000 for the next 5 or 6 years. We permanently opt out those X amount of residents, and so they are never included again in the program.
Okay, in aggregation though, in 2012, that was something new. This is not new now, and it wasn't designed for you. It was put to the public under a different build, and you're a completely different build. So I know you're saying that the referendum, but the referendum didn't apply to you. It applied to what was happening at the time. And so our job here is to protect our residents, not create a fiasco for them to try and work themselves out of. And the last round was not very successful, and most people opted out of it that I know of. So I'm just trying to put it out there.
I appreciate it.
So we're covering all our bases as a board here.
And as if everyone opts out, you guys can still receive $40,000 a year for the duration of the program. So there'd be no change.
Okay, you go ahead and continue your...
That's kind of, I'll stop there and keep going through questions. I think I'm...
Oh, is there any more questions? Oh, go ahead.
I know that we encourage residents through the Environment Committee and on our website to sign up for community solar.
Ooh, good.
So how is this different than community solar?
It's different than community solar because with community solar, which I wildly encourage, I'm not here offering any availability. That's the key term right now is availability. But you can be in community solar and be in the aggregation program. And so there will be no change because community solar is still run by ComEd and all that stuff. So they go well and they go hand in hand together. But if someone says, hey, I have community solar, I'm a little nervous about that. I don't want to, we can opt you out and keep you opted out for as long as, for the duration of the program.
What is your incentive if they have community solar to join in with you?
There is none. I want to be very clear. There is no incentive for residents to opt in. I'm not going to sit here and try to sell any resident and say, hey, you're with community solar, come join MC Squared. No. The program there is no incentive. I want to be very clear, we always check if we could find savings for residents. That's what we did in 2017. We would come there and say that's the number one thing. There is no incentive, there is no benefit to the resident. The benefit then goes
to us, to the village.
Or the renewable energy, or however you want to look at it, yes.
Was there any more question at this time?
Not from me, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the questions we have at hand, we've kind of gone through all this. The questions that we had is if you're interested in moving forward with the program and which one of those 3 options.
I think what we'd have to do is kind of digest it a little bit more individually and then get back to Joe, and Joe will let you know if we want to have another workshop and discuss it more and with more questions. I'm sure once we leave here today, there'll be more questions.
Thank you so much. I'm here to help.
Thank
If you have any
you
other
for your
questions, let me
time.
know. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go back to the other side. And we're going to go to L.
1A.
Wait a minute. 1A was O, and now we're going to go to L2. 1B. Which would now be 1B. Consider for approval of professional review service fee waiver for Homer Township in the amount of $9,720.64 for the Homer Township Civic Center subject property located at 15744 West 151st Street, Homer Glen, Illinois. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fialko, is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Cancelino. So we have Trustee Fialko first, and then Trustee Cancelino. Trustee Fialko.
All right. This comes back to Trantina Farm and the Civic Center. A couple things I'd like to point out is one, Trustee Mason said something very important in his speech today about working together, and this is about our community and making us stronger together. And I support that 100%. With that said, the township, there was a referendum. That referendum asked for a community center, and it passed. So the township right now has gotten to a point where they built the building. According to the PUD, it was supposed to look like the community and the area and the open space that it's near, and they've done that. SOP 8 we have a sister agreement with SOP 8 that covers a lot of things, including building permit fees and everything else. In the meantime, the township has given us I believe it's over 7 parks, including the football field, the baseball diamond. And if we were to sell any of those parks right now, even though we have to maintain them now, the money, if they were sold, would go to the village. We've also come up with IGA, intergovernmental agreements with the township, and they've worked harmoniously with us for the past 2 years that I know of. They also annexed into Homer Glen not too long ago to protect our western boundary. So they work with us there to help us protect our western boundary, right? We don't have a park district here in Homer Glen, and this building serves as a park district building, which many of our sports facilities will probably take advantage of that. That would be our football teams, our soccer teams, our soccer organizations that are all run not by the village, but private, basically, groups of people that are running these. Also the baseball team. So those football fields, those sports teams, the 7 parks that we were given, the western border or boundary that was protected by annexing into Homer Glen, the township did not have to do that. Again, we don't have a park district building. That's going to take and fulfill a need. We don't, on our tax bill for Homer Glen, we don't have a line item for a park district because we don't have one in that building. And I think that's going to help us out a whole lot, especially if we had meetings that were too big here instead of going to the school. Joe, I don't know if we pay the $750 that sometimes some people have to pay at the schools, the $750, but we heard it earlier from Trustee Clausen that he's not going to charge, they're not going to charge us to be able to use that building. So this is a community thing. And also, it isn't just taking in Homer Glen, it takes in Homer Township. Homer Glen has 24,500 people approximately. The township takes in 45,000. So that's going to benefit a lot more people than just Homer Glen. The thing is, the intention of the board when they annexed in, it comes down to that. I mean, we could ask an attorney that if that's just factual, but sometimes it goes by what the intention was. And the intention when they annexed in and when we talked about the Civic Center was to work together and to get this done together. And when we work together, the whole village, the whole community, the township, everybody benefits from it. And so I can't say that enough times. There was a delay over there too. I don't know how much we need to talk about it, but there was a delay over there because somebody had complained about clay issues. The EPA got involved, attorneys got involved, and it ended up costing the township an extra $120,000 between the delays and the legal fees. Our next thing that I'd like to talk about is we have a PUD. It's HG 2404. It addresses those same things that I'm talking about. We also have an annexation agreement, and in that annexation agreement, I'd like to just read a couple things briefly, if I could. That annexation agreement, when the township moved it into Homer Glen, under zoning, the subject property shall enact such ordinances as required to rezone the subject property as A1 agricultural district, which we did. It was actually E1. So it allows, the PUD allows special uses and variances necessary. The other thing is, the owner of the property, it says under Section 5, shall not be required to pay permit fees for any construction on the subject property. The owner shall not be required to obtain a building permit for construction of gravel. Well, they're talking about the parking lot at that point. But there's several different things as you go through here that talk about harmoniously working together. And under mutual assistance, it says the party shall do all things necessary or appropriate. This is under Section 13 of the annexation agreement. All parties shall do things necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms and provisions of this agreement and to aid in and assist each other in carrying out the terms and objectives of this agreement. And the intentions of the parties as reflected by said terms include without limitation giving of such notices, holding of such public hearing, the enactment by the village of such resolutions and ordinances, and the taking of such other actions. So as I go through all this paperwork, which is long and plentiful, we actually had 3 different ordinances, 2208, 22048, and 22058, that address the same things. We also had one of those meetings with the annexation was on July 24, 2024, under L9, the special use permit for a community center. So, I think I pretty much covered everything without going through this pile of paperwork that's 6 inches thick. I think the whole idea, like Trustee Mason said, it's all about working together. Let's help each other and asking. Here, I will tell you this. We have a facade program, and we give more money than this to businesses to improve something, the facade of their building, and we still have money in that fund. This is a small price to pay by waiving this fee of $9,700 and some dollars and some change to work together with the community and provide all these things that the whole community will benefit from. Again, the 45,000 people, not just 24,500. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Consolino?
You know, I think everybody forgets, but I've said it on this board a few times back in 2019 and 2020. I really rallied against this referendum. I wanted to keep it open space, but in November 2020, it was over 15,000 people voted in support of having a civic center. They wanted it, over 7,000 that voted no. You know, we don't have a park district. Realistically, we're probably never going to have a park district unless we somehow get our residents to want to give a major increase to their taxes and vote on a referendum to do it. You know, this should not be about politics on this board. I've seen a lot of politicking about it on this board and arguing and bickering and wasting time. This should be about the community. Community really wants it. There's a need for it. I listened wholeheartedly to what Trustee Clausen had to say. He couldn't have said it better. He spoke from the heart, and he's very educated about the subject. He's working on it. There's a lot of people that are donating their time, their money, the costs, doing everything they can to make it happen. And you know, some people want to say it's politics. No. What I see is a good thing. I want to be supportive of it. I want this board to be supportive of it because it's going to benefit not just Homer Township. Homer Glen is a piece of Homer Township. We are 25,000 out of the 40,000 that live in Homer Township. So I really think that everybody should consider what's being put forth before us tonight and to move forward. And if everybody's genuine about all the things that they're saying tonight, you know, put down the electioneering, let's work together and listen to what Trustee Clausen said earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Reinders, do you have anything?
I do. I read this back and forth a million times already, and I see all the concessions that this village has made for the township. I don't see one section in this that tells us or guarantees us or any one of our parks entities or any one of our sports teams that they'll be able to use this for free. And Mike, I know you've done a lot of work on this, and I do appreciate this. I mean, I was definitely in favor of this center. I mean, I had several conversations with Supervisor Bellich about ways that they could benefit in some of the uses for this. But what I haven't seen, which makes me very nervous, is that I haven't seen how this is going to all come to fruition. How is it going to be paid for? And I don't see anything in this annexation agreement that says that we're going to benefit from this or we're going to be able to use it for free. And that's one of the things that really scares me, because my first obligation is to this village and to the residents. That's where my responsibility lays. So in looking at this annexation agreement, there's so many concessions that the village has made when it comes to the zoning, when it comes to the construction. And I know that you guys have gone through a lot, but I just feel that I would feel more comfortable if there was some type of guarantee that said, or something in this annexation agreement that benefits the village in some way. I feel that this is just basically benefiting the township and not the village at all. I mean, you could say we're going to get, we've gotten parks, but I could also sit here and tell you how many thousands and thousands of dollars we have had to put into those parks just to make them safe for people to be able to use them. So with that, I mean, I think I would feel more comfortable if there was something guaranteeing this board or this community that this was going to be beneficial to us and how it was going to benefit our residents.
Would you like me to respond or no?
I'm going to let everyone speak first, and then we'll go back around for questions, okay?
Sure.
Trustee McNaughton?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. While we definitely appreciate the value in the partnership with Home and Township, when I look at the initial letter here from Home and Township Supervisor Bellich, he refers to the attached invoice as professional services. I look at the standard operating procedure, not electioneering, not taking sides, just looking at our own rules and regulations that were implemented February the 12th, 2013, voted yes by trustees at the time, Consolino, Fielco, Laha, Basmino, Rogers. And essentially that states that under the sister governmental fee waiver program, professional service fees like legal, engineering, and plan reviews are explicitly excluded from waivers. These third-party costs totaling just under $10,000 are non-negotiable and were incurred to ensure compliance, proper planning with the project. It's understandable. Additionally, the village already offers a 50% reduction in general billing permit fees as a show of collaboration. Waiving these additional costs would not only violate the SOP policy number 8, but also create an unfair precedent for other entities. So we must prioritize fiscal responsibility and equity while continuing to support our partners within the established framework that was approved by the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Mason? McMason?
Yeah, I hear what all the trustees are saying, and I agree with a lot of them for different reasons. My understanding was the referendum was to explore grants and fundings, not to build a building without residential input. I don't remember anybody voting for this to be built. I feel that this is cost shifting. The township keeps talking about lowering taxation. You're really not lowering taxes, you're just shifting the cost. I think that Trustee Reinders hit on it. It seems like the village continuously gives concessions to the townships. When we take over the parks, we're taking over costing yet again. Not that we don't mind parks, thank you very much, but somebody's got to pay for them, and it seems like the village residents do. Consolino stated that Trustee Consolino stated that she wanted to keep it an open space, and I think that's the consensus I get from our residents. I'm not sure the community wants this at all. It's been quite the uproar, really. Trustee Fialco mentioned it had been additional costs and fees in permitting and whatnot. Well, I think if it was done properly in the beginning, and it would have came in front of us for permitting, then the township and the supervisor wouldn't have had additional costing. Thank you.
Trustee Stylen?
Thank you. Trustee Fialco said that we need to work together as a community, and this project didn't involve the community at all before it went forward. And it also, when the site development plan or whatever came before the board, the building was already purchased. So it wasn't, it wasn't well thought out. And there was mention about a cost of things that when there was a call to the IEPA. Well, that wasn't, that was caused by the township not acquiring the proper permits before they started moving dirt. And that NPDES construction permit is not, it's in our village code, but it is not a village permit. And if somebody does not get that permit through the IEPA, the village could be found at fault. So that is on the township. I just want to make that very clear. It is not on the village that happened. We have spent, I have before me, we've spent at least $80,000 on maintenance for the parks that we acquired from the township. So we did the township a big favor by taking over those parks. Those parks were paid for by the taxpayers that live around those parks in the village. So to say it's like really a gift, well, it belongs to the taxpayers. So we did the township a favor by taking over those parks. We spend about $2,000 each year for the lighting of the parks. We spend $8,400 in tree removal. None of these expenses, expenses take in the staff that's required to maintain those parks, cut the grass, the lawnmowers that we've had to purchase, and other equipment involved. That is just slightly. So we've also waived the permit fees. That was over $3,000 from what I understand. The library came to the village to ask for their engineering fees waived when they were constructing their building. And that library, sorry I don't have the numbers, but hundreds of people go through that library every day. So it impacts the same residents that are impacted by the Homer Township Civic Center. The Civic Center building, but it's being called a Civic Center building, but it's not, it's more like a field house at the moment. It's not going to have a completed kitchen unless you spend even more money, and you'll probably have to do something to the septic system as well when you do that. So I think it's great that we have this facility, because we do not have an indoor facility in the community for things like, if it's possible, pickleball or wheelchair basketball or senior bingo or gathering. It is an important thing, but then it shouldn't be on the backs of the Homer Glen residents to pay for something that's benefiting the unincorporated area and the Lockport residents as well. We're already doing that with our road taxes. We pay for the maintenance of the township roads when we pay taxes. So I think we pay plenty. So I'm not in support of this. Thank you.
Mr. Klaus, or Trustee Clausen, I'm going to give you a moment to speak on anything you want to rebut to what was said.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. we probably don't have time for all of it, but I will say if the parks are that much of a burden, you could vote on it tonight to give them back to us, and we'll take them in new business. I guess you could probably vote on that tonight. We'll take them back. That's an easy one. We've had many town halls. Specifically, the last town hall that we had was at Butler School in the gymnasium. And we all do a lot of these things. Political aggressiveness aside, I'll say that we all participate in a lot of these things, these governmental meetings and town halls. And I've never been to one where every single person in the room participated. So to say to the community doesn't want it, that isn't true. You could have been there, you're all invited. Some of you were there. And the ones that were there can tell you the truth that really happened. Every single person in there, on a very cold night, by the way, very, very cold night, people came out there to talk to us and ask us questions and give feedback and input. So that's just not true. Not the way I see it. Maybe that's the way you see it, that's fine. I'm not going to change your mind. I'm not here to change your mind. Just telling you that's not true. And in construction, which I am in, you can't purchase a building before you have all documents approved for construction. So as a contractor, I could make up a scenario. This is just a made-up scenario that you were asking me to do something. Our company would not step forward on any part of your project unless you had documents approved for construction by a third-party engineer. Otherwise, I'm not talking to you. So you can't purchase a building without a design. Engineering firms work the same way. Ironically, I sold a consulting firm some time back that was MC squared, which is kind of odd. That was the name of it. So I know a little bit about that too. So it's not true. It's just not true. So the participation in from the community has been super positive. And you know, the negative aspects of this is, I hate to be like this, but we have a contract. The contract's very clear. No fees will be given. We haven't charged you anything, you're not going to charge us anything. Otherwise, you're in breach of contract. So if this is there are, Rose, to your point, there's ways that we can change this agreement. It's in here. The instructions are in here. We have to put out public notice, and both sides have to agree on it. So those conduits are inside this document. We have the ability to change that if you want to. I would call this, your counsel can correct me if I'm wrong, but I call this a legacy agreement. This is a legacy agreement that started before some of you were even here, before I was involved in it. This is a legacy agreement that keeps going. When you add up all the years that are in here, you go 40 years, which goes into infinity after that, with the options to change whatever you want in here. But we have to collaborate together to change on that. We all have to agree to change on that. So was notice given? This is a change to this document. This is a change to the covenants, the way I see it. So you would have had to file notice with the township, which wasn't done, and we would have had to have a public hearing. Unless you consider this a public hearing, we still didn't have the public notice. So I just, as a board, you're voting on something you can't do, and I'm throwing that at you. Just do what you want with it. You are under advice of counsel, but it's not what any of this says. So,
Mr. Trustee Clausen, can I just ask you to clarify one thing? You said I'm sorry, I was talking to the attorney for a second. You said we're pretty much in violation of what exactly? Again, I didn't understand what you were saying.
So
you're saying we can't do something.
So to charge us a fee.
To try to what?
To charge us a fee.
Oh, okay.
It's a fee. The fee is what the issue is.
Okay.
Right? And if you wanted to charge us that fee, there's legal procedures to follow inside this document that everybody agreed on. You can do that. You can't do it tonight. If you did, it would be breach of contract, in my opinion. I'm no lawyer by any means.
The attorney has an opinion on that.
So to Trustee McNaughton's point, on section 16, this agreement supersedes all prior agreements, which mentioned prior agreements. This document supersedes prior agreements. This is a legacy document that we are living by. So do what you want with that. I'm just here to answer questions. If you have any questions, the public input on this has been very positive. I appreciate the township represents 45,000 people, plus or minus, and it encompasses a large area. And it's going to be a very popular thing. And I think I pretty much addressed anybody. If anybody else has a question, please ask me.
I'm going to go back around in the order of how the motions were made one more time. Just Trustee Fialko?
Yes, just to answer some of the questions, and then I may have a question for you also, Mike. When we acquired the parks, John Robinson gave everybody here, some people weren't here, but at least half this board was. John Robinson gave a list. He went through, before the township turned over any of the parks, a punch list of all the things that needed to be repaired. Those requirements were met before the village ever accepted any of the parks. Again, the parks belong to the village right now. If you were to sell them, the money doesn't go to the township, the money goes to the village. So that is a benefit to us. The next thing, HR Green, the costs that we're talking about right now are not costs that the township acquired through anything they did. These are oversight costs from HR Green that the village wanted. So we're asking the township to pay something that the village wants, whether it be a requirement or not. We're asking the township to pay for something that the village needs or wanted. And I understand that part of it. I'm not sure everybody knew that, though. That cost is the village cost from HR Green for oversight that we're now telling the township they need to pay it. And anyway, when it comes to taxes, you know, we pay, you say the taxpayers paid for the park, that's true. And I think Supervisor Ballich said that, you know, and that was part of giving us the parks, was because if we would have been a village at the time when those subdivisions were built, those would have been given to the village at that time. So he felt that those parks should be part of the village for that reason, and that we should own them. Not that the township had to do that, but he felt it was the right thing to do. The only reason I say it that way is because some on the board are making it seem like it was a burden, and we can give them back anytime we want. That's a fact. The soil that we talked about with the delay, the soil, when the EPA got involved, they got involved and said it was not contaminated soil. So that push that narrative that the soil was contaminated and everything else proved to be false and ended up costing the township $120,000. The community is the people that want it. We say we didn't ask the community. No, it was a referendum. The referendum said the community spoke, whether it was not 100% one way or, you know, to go ahead and build it, but the referendum, the community wanted it, and that was exactly what the township did, is followed the recommendation of the referendum. So in closing here, I'd like to say one more thing, just to call out the big elephant in the room. There's a 50-50 chance that you, Sue, might be paying the bill. So you might want to take that into consideration. But thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Consolino?
One more question. Is there a reason why we didn't get the annexation agreement until yesterday?
Sitting in front of you.
Point of order, that was rude. I didn't ask you. Is there a reason why we didn't get the annexation agreement until yesterday? Via email, yesterday, today. We got a hard copy when we came to the meeting tonight. Thanks.
Joe, can you answer?
Civility.
Point of order. Joe, can you please answer Trustee Consolino?
At the time we were putting together this request, the annexation agreement wasn't being considered because it was outside what I felt was outside the request for the professional service fees, and that was the language that was in the annexation agreement.
Okay, so language is in there. Okay.
Was that it, Trustee Consolino? Trustee Reinders.
As a contractor, and I know you have a very successful company, and I know that you and your wife work very hard, but when you go out and you bid on a job, and you get the job, and they tell you that you have to have a third-party engineer come in and look at that, you have to abide by whatever town or whatever village that you're working in. You have to abide by their ordinances, don't you?
Unless it was in the bid documents, no.
Okay, you don't have to abide by that?
I followed the contractual bid documents, so it would have to be ahead of time.
Right, it would have
None
to
of the
be
stuff
in
is
there.
after the fact.
But if it was in their ordinances, who would have to pay for that? Would you have to absorb that cost, or would the village that requests that, would they pay for that cost?
If you could refine your question, so just go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm asking is that the Village of Homer Glen, we have our ordinance that says that we waive, for our sister, we waive the permit fees. But in there, it also says that we do not pay for third-party engineering. So HR Green went out, and they had to go out, and they had to look at this because they had to make sure that everything was being done the way it was supposed to be done. And in your line of work, if an engineer comes out and looks at your project, do you pay that fee, or does the village that orders that pay the fee?
So that wouldn't be that simple of a question to answer, because the governing document that we are all privy to and what we are operating with is the annexation agreement.
Right.
And there's language in there to prove that any ordinances, any previous agreements are basically null and void. That's yours, and we have ours. So if you are requiring engineering for your permit services, that's borne by you, and it shouldn't be passed on to anybody else. So if I have costs associated with my bid, let's say my bid for whatever we're building is $200,000, and all of a sudden it's $220,000, I can't go to my customer and say, hey, you know what? There's this invoice for $20,000. You know, what is that for exactly?
But my point is that wouldn't you know ahead of time? Wouldn't you do the research ahead of time to say what you were going to be liable for? The problem I'm having with this is that I feel that everything in here is so broad and so vague as to, there's nothing really pinpointed here. Anybody could come in and say, you're going to cover our permit fees. Well, what does that include? You're going to cover our zoning, the zoning fees. Well, what does that include? There's no detail, and this is where I have a problem. Because I'm a very detail-oriented person, and I have a problem that there's nothing in detail here. It's very broad as to what the village has to pay for.
It is a broad agreement, I'll give you that.
Right.
Actually, it is defined.
For both sides.
It actually is defined in the agreement.
No, I'm just saying, it is, no,
I didn't
you're
mean to cut you off,
right. It is
but-
defined, but what I'm saying is, it's not detailed.
Rose, and forgive me, you may not like that, I may not like that, there's things in here that I don't like either, but we have the ability to change that. There's also avenues we can take inside this contractual language to change it together.
Well, then maybe,
If that was to happen, but
well, then maybe we need to table this, and we really need to revisit this annexation agreement and see if this is really within the best interest of the village.
this agreement, for everybody to know, which has nothing to do with anybody says, this is from January 26th of 2022.
Right.
You know, so that's, I don't know who was in office at that time. I'm not watching that closely.
Well, 1, 2, 3. No, we were,
I
yeah.
wasn't, you know, so it's.
I know, I wasn't here, I wasn't able to vote on this. That was when I had my first knee replacement. So I wasn't able to vote on this. But, I mean, after just reviewing it, I mean, maybe, I don't know what the rest of the board thinks here.
As I'm sorry to interrupt you, but as an intergovernmental agreement, right, between governing bodies, this is what we should be following, rather than all of your ordinances. That's why this is.
Rather than all of our ordinances?
That's why this is created.
A PUD supersedes. and
Okay,
does
so
the-
we're out of point of order here.
Point of order, please, I'm speaking.
Are you, Trustee Reinders, are you done?
I'm done.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to keep going here. Who was next? Trustee McNaughton.
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Trustee Mason?
Yes, Mr. Clausen, I guess we can agree to disagree due to the point about being able to purchase a building in advance of actually having the permits and whatnot, because I purchased a pole barn about 4 years ago for $110,000 long before I had the permits. So we can just, you know, in certain circumstances, I think you can. And I've also, I may not build bridges, but I've built plenty of homes personally. So I know that,
commercial and industrial law is completely different. That's
well, it was a big commercial builder that sold me the building way in advance of ever getting the permits from this village right around the corner from your house. Anyway, village requirements, I think we do need to follow them. And I think that when village requirements and permits are due, we don't waive them for residents. I think Trustee Reinders put it well. It's pretty broad. When I read our own standard operating procedure, and maybe legal can clarify which one I should be following, but I'm sitting here reading it, it says permit fees, waiver partnership. Then it says right below that the permit fees available for the waiver shall not include any third-party rebuild professional services, including but not limited to the following: legal review, engineering review, plan review, and that's exactly what all these bills are. So I'm a little twisted by that, and maybe Mr. Pasquinelli can clarify that for me. But also Trustee Fialco had brought up, you know, the contaminated soil yet again. I think, again, I'm going to reiterate that had the permit had been done in advance, the testing would have been done. And there wouldn't have cost initial fees had they done it properly from the beginning. That's it.
Trustee Steilen?
Yes, I just want to make a couple comments. I believe Supervisor Balich did say that night at the meeting that he purchased the building already. We would never sell parks, and I don't even think that that should be a conversation that's ever on the table. Also, the referendum, it said, shall the township go out for grant funding, was the focus of the referendum, to build that pole barn. And so there is question about how much grant funding is actually being applied to the pole barn. And Village Manager Baber, I want to say thank you for arranging for these copies of the annexation agreements to be on the dais tonight. The annexation agreement with the township is online in full transparency with this village under major contracts on our website. So anybody has access to that and would like to review it, they can do that at any time. And the community input segment, I just want to reiterate again, came after the design and purchase of the building. And I still don't think very many community members have been able to come out and give their ideas. And I know that you're having other workshops, and I look forward to you hearing from them. Thank you.
I can't speak on the matter because I don't vote unless there's a tie, but I do want to bring something up. I do like the idea of revisiting this entire agreement because there are some things in here that aren't forcible. So I know you said that there were some options of using the facility. I still haven't really heard what all of the options are to use it. And you did make a good point that we would be able to use it at no cost. That's not in here. And then it also has things like that you guys are allowed to have a Class J liquor license at any time without any questions asked. That actually is not forcible by law. So there's a couple of things in here that actually are not forcible and don't really jive with the law in general. So I think it's important to revisit. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So what does it mean? What do you mean by forcible?
So if you go to page 3 under permits and liquor license, under C, it says, upon application and qualification, owner shall be issued a Class J special events liquor license for events held on the subject property at no cost and with no limit on the number of annual events. That's actually not forcible because you can't force a liquor commission to grant a number of liquor licenses whenever. So there's things in here that
it wasn't forced, though. It was agreed to.
No, it's not agreed. You can't. So the board can't agree to.
But the village signed it, and so did the township.
I understand, but the village board can't agree to the job duties of the liquor commission. So they can agree to do whatever they want, but they can't force the liquor commissioner to do that. Does that make sense?
The county commissioner, are you talking about? Where do your liquor licenses? Where are your liquor licenses in the village born? Who has the authority to give those?
I do. I'm the liquor commissioner.
Okay.
So the board can't force me to grant the township Class J liquor license or as many as they so choose at all. That's against the law. They can't do that.
It's not forced, though. It's agreed to. No. It's an agreement.
I think I'm going to have the attorney, because maybe I'm not explaining it properly. Attorney, can you?
So regardless of, and I'll do this is just to the public in general. So regardless of whether or not two entities got together or two businesses, two individuals, two corporations got together and said, hey, we're going to agree upon these terms. What happens is that if those two parties agreed upon terms that a court determines is unenforceable, meaning that there's a statute out there, there's a legal statute out there that says you cannot do this, or there is a appellate court opinion out there that says a village board cannot bind a local liquor commissioner, that provision would be unenforceable, okay? That's certainly our opinion. We've shared the liquor commissioner, who's the mayor, has allowed me to speak in regards to that, but this had come, Mayor, along months back. But we had shared that opinion with her personally, because she had asked us to look into that, and we were 100% of the opinion that that provision would be unenforceable in Illinois law, regardless of the fact that two parties agreed to the agreement. A Board A cannot prospectively bind and control the local liquor commissioner. That would conflict with both Illinois law and the appellate court opinion regarding this matter. So
my point of bringing that up, I'm sorry to interrupt you. My point of bringing that up was maybe we do revisit this, and because there's a lot of things in here that don't make sense or jive anymore. So maybe there is a point that you guys take a.
So I'd like to make a motion to table this.
You need a second.
I could say one thing one more thing. I mean, to the public, as the council mentioned, this agreement, this contract is used in a court of law, right? Mm-hmm. He has an opinion, I have an opinion, someone else will have an opinion. You got to go before an arbitrator or a judge. If that's what these instructions are, that's where that carries you. So just throw that out there.
No, that's understandable. Well, first, wait, there's a motion on the table there's a motion on the table to
I'm asking to speak before that motion, though, if I could.
I already made the motion.
You didn't, okay.
But doesn't it fall on
Is there
those of
a
us that
second?
motion to
Is
begin
there,
with?
but I think,
I made the original motion, didn't I?
No.
yes.
Yes, I
Trustee Fialko made the original motion. Trustee Reinders made a motion to table. Let's just real fast. Go ahead, attorney.
The motion to table takes priority.
The motion to table takes priority. Is there a second to table? Hearing none, motion fails to table. Trustee Fialko.
Okay. What I'd like to say, though, is the agreement, when it was put together, was signed by the liquor commissioner at that time, who was George Yukich. And it also had the clerk's signature on it, who was your signature. So
Right.
to some degree, I know we can now go back and say, I don't know, this is like Jennifer Bertino-Tarrant. How far can we go back and say we did things wrong and say, oh, now this doesn't count? I'm not sure that. Of course, legal has their opinion. The township would have theirs. This would probably get worked out in the wash. I think you're right, though.
I was trying to help
I think
the
to come back
situation.
to this and have an IGA that we put together and clarify it, I don't know that stopping this altogether is the answer. I think that if we can vote on it tonight, and also we can also come up with an IGA. The township has put 2 IGAs together with me for Homerfest and for parking over there. So and for other things. So the thing is, I think the township's willing to work. I think you have a great idea, fixing it and coming up with an IGA. So we know what we expect from each other. And I think supporting this and giving them the $9,000 credit, because it was us that wanted the engineering done, not them. They're not passing their bill on to us, we're passing our bill on to them. So I think working together, doing the IGA, getting this passed tonight shows that we're all working together, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Since there was no second to table, I'm going to have Madam Clerk call the roll.
Trustee
Oh,
Fialko.
wait, hold on.
Aye.
Wait, I'm sorry, hold on one second.
Calling the roll on the motion to waive these fees.
We're calling the roll on the motion to waive the fees.
Yeah, that's the motion.
Yep.
Trustee
Just
Fialko.
clarification.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
No.
Trustee Mason.
No.
Trustee McNaughton.
No.
Trustee Reinders.
No.
So motion fails. Well, maybe we can revisit this. I do want to thank you for being very professional up here. It was actually a joy to
Thank you for having me.
have a conversation with someone from the township and have a, discussion. But I think we should get together as a group. Maybe we can have the 2 boards get together again, maybe a special meeting or a workshop or something to go over any concerns you may have, and maybe things can be revisited.
Okay.
Thank Thank you.
Mike.
All right, so now we're on L3. Consider for approval the mayor's appointment of Karen Adamczyk to serve as the chairperson of the Ability Awareness Committee. Is there
I'll
a
make that motion.
Trustee Mason, is there a second?
I'll second.
I'm sorry, was that Trustee Consolino? All right, Trustee Mason, Trustee Consolino. Trustee Mason, do you have anything?
No, I
Trustee-
read through this. How do you say no?
Trustee Consolino?
I do. I want to say sincerely thank you to Ms. Adamczyk for her service to the Ability Awareness Committee. But I think it's very important to say this, though. Village doesn't have a code of conduct for our committee members or our chairs that are residents. We do for the employees. We are doing a disservice to our village by not having a social media policy for our committee members. We desperately need one, especially after what we talked about tonight, especially with the comments that we all made on this board, where we discussed that we need civility, unity, and for adults not to cyberbullying. So based on resident complaints that I've gotten, this is exactly how I'm going to be basing my vote tonight. So I just wanted to put that on the record.
Okay, is there any more comments?
I do.
Oh,
It's
go
my
ahead.
turn.
I just would throw it out there. Go ahead, Trustee Velko.
Sure. The thing is, we do have a village code, and it was said, how do you say no? Well, you say no because you have a village code to follow. And the village code says that you're supposed to ask a trustee first, and second, you're supposed to ask a staff member. And then you go to the public. We did not follow that protocol. And therefore, I don't support this in not following the ordinance, and that's how I would say no. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything? Trustee Stylen?
Yes, I'm confused by that statement, but we started as a village with the residents serving on committees, and our plan commissioners do not have a board member serving as a chair for that. So I think the precedent is already there for a committee to have a resident as a chair. And Karen Adamczyk has been, I think she served, advised the FEST committee way before she was on the Ability Awareness Committee. So she's been a good resident and involved, and I support this. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? I'd like to add something since I am the chair of the Ability Awareness Committee. I was under the impression that it was out to staff and to the trustees. If it was not, that's news to me. So I'm going to extend it to any of the trustees here now. Does anybody want to take on the Ability Awareness Committee before Karen takes it? Anybody? No. So all the trustees were asked now. I know that staff was asked, especially Penny, since she is the chair, the staff liaison, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm still chairing it as well with Karen. I think the problem that came about is why I asked her to do it is because my scheduling conflict on the days that works for everybody else, I also have other meetings, and I always have to make a decision on if I'm meeting with a potential developer or contractor or meeting with staff on other things at that same exact time. So I just need someone to fill the shoes when I'm not there, that's all. But if no other trustee is volunteering to take it, everyone is asked. And like Sue said, or Trustee Stylen had said, Karen has been a great asset. And if we're going to talk about policy on how people, if you're going to vote because their ethics on Facebook aren't really up to par, some of these board members really wouldn't be here today either. So I'm going to ask Madam Clerk to call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Fialko?
No.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders? Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Karen. Moving on to number 4, consider for approval an ordinance creating the positions of Parks Director and Facilities Director. Is there a motion?
I'll
Trustee
second.
Reinders, Trustee Fialko. Trustee Reinders, if your mic's off.
Yes, okay. Jennifer Vittori, she works so hard. One of the things I have to say about her is, she's very into training, and all of her staff, they're so cross-trained in everything that they do. And I believe that this is long overdue for her to get this title. She's so much entitled to it.
Is that it? Trustee Fiocco?
Yes. We have several things coming up that cost us a lot of money. This may be necessary in the future. We don't have a big department that will create another increase in salaries that we just increased recently. And then we also just, we've got Local 150 and those monies that we had to pay to make them whole, which I agree with. But in this case, right now, with us, with water reclamation and a few other things that we have going on in this village, I don't see where the advantage is right now. And I'd never heard anybody said that this would be going to Jen Vittori. We would have to, I would think that we would have to interview for this position, not just give somebody's name, unless somebody knows something that the rest of this board doesn't know. I'm not sure.
It's on your supplement sheet.
Yeah, where it says Jen Vittori.
Yeah, it says Jen Vittori right there in the background information. It also says Bill Foster.
And we talked about.
Okay, I did not see that you had named anybody. But even with that said, I still think that we would have to follow an interview process to be able to do that. And just to blanket name things like that isn't the way we should be conducting business, for one. The other thing is, we are the fiduciaries of the taxpayer, and we have a lot of big-ticket items that we have to be concerned about right now. And I think we gave all the raises. I think everybody was paid substantially with those raises. And I think we could look at this in the future. I just think it's bad timing right now with all the expenditures that we have and how the things that we have going on with legal. So I'm not in favor of this in the future. I am just not in favor of it right now. Thank you.
Hold on, I gotta regroup here for a second. Trustee Mason, go ahead.
Are you okay?
I'm just aggravated.
Okay, we had talked about all this and these individuals, and they were already doing these positions, and we talked about it behind closed doors, and we did talk about the raises and the raises that have been given out, and this was one of my concerns, that it was going to be additional cost, and which Mr. Baber told us during our closed door meetings it was not going to cost us any additional money, because that was my biggest concern, because I do want to be financially responsible and make sure that we're looking after it. So I'm not sure what Trustee Fiocco is referring to. These people were the people in place. These were the people that we discussed behind closed doors, and the raises that were already given out solidify where we're at. Am I correct?
Go ahead, Joe.
There's not going to be any increases in cost for compensation to employees based on these positions. If anything, it's probably going to potentially save the village money, because these are now salaried positions, and we will not be giving out overtime.
Thank you for that clarification. Trustee McNaughton.
Yeah, I believe we discussed this extensively in executive session around headcount and movement of staff, which is how it came back before us on the board. Just another point in regards to Trustee Fiocco as well. If you look at the Treasurer's report on cash and investments year ending 2024, we're 22 days out from that. We had just under $48 million in cash equivalents and securities as well. So,
excuse me, Trustee McNaughton, please let the record show that Trustee Consolino is leaving at 8:52. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
My last point that I was making, that you look at the Treasurer's report, which we all have a copy of, year ending 2024, we're 22 days into the new year. We had cash equivalents and investments of just under $48 million. This will certainly not break the bank.
Thank you. Trustee Stylen?
Yes, the work that these two employees are doing is really director work. They have to approve budgets. They have to have spending authority in order to accomplish the things that they need to accomplish. And they're supervising a number of staff members. And so it's really making right what, giving them the proper title for the job that they are doing. So I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. We would run around the board once. The only thing I agree with that Trustee Fiocco said is that usually we have like an interview process when we create a position of director. But since we went through this in executive extensively, I don't believe just once, not twice, but I think it was like 3 times that we did this. I think it's important for people to read their packets and remember what we talk about in executive session. So, Madam Clerk, if you want to call the roll.
I'd like to have
No,
my
Madam
second
Clerk,
round,
please
if you
call the
don't
roll.
mind.
No, I do mind.
Trustee
Yeah, of course you
Reinders?
do.
Yeah.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
No.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we're going to move on to number 6, because we're skipping 5. Consider for approval of the proposed 2025 events calendar. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Trustee Mason and Trustee Reinders. Any discussion?
No.
Trustee Reinders?
No, is Bill here? No.
Oh, there he is. Well, let's see if any you come up to the podium. Trustee Fialko, do you have any discussion before Bill?
I do.
I mean, what did I say? Bill? Oh.
Huh?
Hi.
What?
Would you have anything to say?
Of course I
I don't know what happened there.
I just want to make sure, again, I think I asked last year, I want to make sure that events has the staff and the support that they need to be able to accomplish all these events in here. I know we added some, and some, I don't know which ones had been removed, and I know some of them are sponsored, and you have a budget for this also. But I do want to make sure that we all know that, and believe it was Trustee Reinders that came up with this ordinance, that whenever we celebrate anything with the village off the property, it has to be approved by the board. So I'm looking at November 2nd with the Veterans Celebration. When you do that, or before you do that, you have to make sure that you take and get the approval of the board to take it off the property to do that.
And maybe the establishment, because I don't think the establishment knows that it would be November 2nd yet either.
Okay. What's that?
I don't know if Konos even knows that it would be on November 2nd.
Okay, well, regardless of the date, it still is required. So I just want to make sure when you talk, Dan, that you tell us that you have the support you need, and financially, just like with Homerfest, you've got a budget that meets your needs, that's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
We're just going to let the rest of the trustees and see if they have anything. Trustee McNaughton, do you have anything?
No, ma'am.
Trustee Stylen?
No, we've done many of these events, and the nice thing is now Dan has done them at least once, so carrying them out should be a little bit easier. What's not on here is we might have additional events that get added, so just be aware of that, because we will be kicking off our 25th anniversary, I believe, this year. So.
We don't think you're working hard enough.
No.
Do you have any?
But he's doing a great job. Thank you.
Do you have anything to add?
No, ma'am.
No? You're good? Oh, yeah, go ahead. I thought I went to you first.
No, I just wanted to verify that we did actually, the issue of taking events off the village property did go to board last time.
Yep.
For the veterans. So
Yeah.
we will do the same again.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you.
So, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye?
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Number 7, consider for approval a proposal from H.R. Green to complete a facilities plan as the next step in the village's wastewater treatment plant planning process.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason, Trustee Fialko. Trustee Mason?
This is something that we need to do in order to move forward. It's been in front of us twice, so
Okay, Trustee.
3 times now.
Trustee Fialko?
Yes, I just want to say that this is necessary. This is part of the process of moving the village forward. And again, this is another thing that Brett Westcott has been involved with and has been so instrumental in getting the information to us in layman terms in a way that we're able to move forward quickly with this project. This could be taking years. Moving this fast after the purchase of the property is paramount to our success. So I want to thank Brett Westcott for that, and I support this, yes. Thank you.
Any more discussion?
No, ma'am.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 8, consider for approval payment for the Village of Homer Glen's November legal bills from Peterson, Johnson, and Murray in the amount of $32,225.52.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason, Trustee Fialko. I have a question. I thought we did this last time. I always feel like we're repeating November's bills for some reason. No? All right.
But
never
this,
mind.
no, we did it. I went
Okay.
through this.
All right. Trustee Mason?
So, of course, I went through it. I just wanted to see how many different trustees leaned on legal. Only one. But half of this bill is due to the electoral board processes. Again, the fact that certain people, I think, wanted to create confusion and cause a mockery of our processes. They didn't follow the rules that our state statutes set forward. The things that we have in place, they tried to create a havoc. They had the opportunity to read the electoral guide. They didn't do that. Some of these people have held office, or at least have ran in the past for office. So half of this bill, everybody complains about the bill. I concur with you as well, Mayor and the village manager, that we are very active with the IAW, with the 143rd. Our plate has been full. We've been working with the ICC. There's so many things that are going on behind the scenes. I always say that I want to watch our costs. I want to make sure that we use what we have, but I also want to pay my bills. When I buy something, I have to pay them. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Fialko?
Yes, I've got two questions on the billing for legal. One of them, if I could defer you to ask legal counsel, we have Mr. Stevens on record of costing the village almost $6,000 in legal fees. I was wondering if that could be explained a little bit, where we're at with that?
Just for this bill, $6,000.
Just for this bill. It's in this bill.
That's a big chunk of this bill.
Yes, it is a big chunk of this bill. And then I have a second question.
Sure.
once I get
We'll
it.
do the first one
Thank you.
first. I don't know if you can or can't explain where we're at, but.
Yeah, I want to thank Trustee Fialko. He did, as is his practice, he called me earlier today just to speak with me specific to this issue. There are a couple of things that I was able to speak with him, which would go to the attorney-client privilege, meaning it went to the strategy that we have. So I can't open and talk about some of the strategic things that I shared with Trustee Fialko on the phone, but I want to let you know that his practice has always been with me, certainly with myself when I'm sitting here as the village attorney, to speak with me in advance of a board meeting so that I can make it quick and concise to you all. So I want to thank Trustee Fialko for reaching out to me. Real quick, so this was an action that was filed by Mr. Brian Stevens. In the action he's seeking, the relief that he's seeking for is to reverse a final administrative decision that was made by the administrative adjudication officers here at Homer Glen. And he also requested that the Village of Homer Glen and its employees be permanently restrained from attempting to enforce the alleged violation, which was a cutting grass violation, against the plaintiff, Mr. Stevens, in the future, and for such other relief as this court deems just and necessary in order to deter all of the defendants, which it's the village and others, from acting in a similar manner towards others in the future. So given the nature of the relief that was sought, we had to file a formal response. We believed it was necessary to file a formal response in the 12th Judicial Circuit in Will County, and we have a reply that's due. So there's more legal work that's going to be involved in this particular issue. We have a reply that's due, I believe, on Monday, and then we have a court appearance sometime in February before the judge on this. So, there's going to be additional fees that are going to be running because of this, but it was based on a challenge that was brought by a resident, which Illinois law does allow residents to challenge the adjudication decisions by hearing officers. Certainly, we disagree with Mr. Stevens that there is any sort of relief that's available to him by way of permanent injunction and otherwise. So it required a more detailed response than what normally would happen for a run-of-the-mill seeking to appeal the hearing officer's adjudication. So I think I've answered, Trustee Fialko. Hopefully I've answered your question in regards to that.
Trustee Fialko, did you have a second question?
Yes. The next one is a bill for almost $14,000. Now, I know Trustee Mason says he has his punch list of reasons why $14,000, and I'm not sure if this is the whole bill. I know a lot of work was done on this, but it was Mr. Carlson that put in the objection. It was not any of the people that were on the ballot that put this forward. It was somebody who wasn't on the ballot. And I sat inside every one of those hearings, and it started off okay. Matter of fact, I recused myself from that hearing because of an issue that I explained during that day. Matter of fact, I was complimented by Mr. Carroll that day for doing that. The attempt to silence those who want to be elected should never happen. I know it's happened several times in this town, though. I have never had anything to do with any of them, and I don't agree with any of them. The thing is, makes it hard for people who want to be elected and then put their neck out there and then to be silenced by a few. We should let the voters make that decision. Yes, there were some questionable things that were on there, but some of them weren't anything that we should not be letting people make their own, letting the public make that decision on the people. But it took its course, and it's still taking some course in the meantime. But I think it's important to know that that election board at this point and right now cost us $13,854. And my question to Attorney Pasquinelli would only be, is there additional cost, or is this the end bill of the $13,854.02?
Go ahead.
I was not the Trustee Fialko, I was not the primary attorney that was acting as the attorney for the electoral board, so I don't have an answer for that. I can certainly get with Mr. Carroll, who unfortunately he had a death in the family. His mother passed away. I'll get with him when the services have concluded for his loved one and get a response back to you on that.
All right, thank you.
Trustee Reinders?
I went over this very thoroughly, and, again, yeah, we spent whatever we spent on the electoral board, but all of that could have been avoided, Trustee Fialko, if people would have just read the candidates' guide to filling out the forms. There would have none of this would have had to have happened. And the thing that really bothers me the most is that we talk about transparency and we talk about following the ordinances and following the rules of the village, and now we're all being chastised because the rules of the village were followed. And you know what? It saddens me because, yeah, I want people to exercise their right to vote, but I also would really prefer people would follow the rules. Because if you can't follow the rules and you sign an oath saying or taking an oath on one of the pages for the guidelines, if you sign that oath and you don't even know what you're signing or you don't know what you're reading there, what does that tell you about how you're going to run a village? I mean, it's just common sense. Believe me, and a lot of those people that were running, I know those people. Your son is a matter of fact. He's one of my favorite people. So, all it would have taken if they would have just read the candidate's guide, we'd have not had to gone through any of that. That's all I have.
Trustee Stylen?
Yes, all good points. The one thing I would say, there's likely to be a bill for December because we did have a hearing in December. So this may not be the end of that total bill.
Okay. Trustee McNaughton?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh. No, that's okay. Mr. Pasquinelli said he usually asks Mr. Carroll now, but he is with his family.
Right.
The only thing I wanted to add is that Trustee Fialko had stated that none of the candidates had actually brought this to light. Actually, there was a candidate who filed an objection against another candidate. So that was, you misspoke on that.
No.
And yes, Heidi Pasella challenged
Not
Nick
out
Muller.
of the 14, no.
Out of the 14, there were 17 candidates running, and one of the candidates filed an objection against another. So,
Very well aware.
okay, well,
Carlson was the 14th.
okay, I'm speaking, I'm sorry.
Alrighty.
And you made a statement that the electoral board silenced the candidates. I don't
No.
agree.
I didn't.
Point of order.
You can point of order all you want.
Okay, Trustee Fialko, enough. The election board did not silence the candidates. The law silenced the candidates. And just like Trustee Reiner said, if they can't follow directions by a simple candidate's guide, they're not going to follow any of our ordinance rules or the laws that the village puts into place or the Will County Sheriff's Office or so forth. You said the costs were put on by the electoral board. That's not true either. Again, if you had candidates that could follow directions, we wouldn't have this problem. And quite frankly, yes, you're right. There has been a challenge in every single election. And I do remember other people putting on challenges that were not part of this group. So I'm going to have the clerk call the roll on the attorney.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
Abstain.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, old business. I've got a couple of things. Trustee Consolino had brought up earlier about the littering signs and cleaning up the roads. I think that's a great idea. I know the Environment Committee would be really happy about that, so if we could get something together, you know, maybe like a mock-up of what we can do or how we can, we talked about, what was I going to say, volunteer hours and stuff like that for when people violate an ordinance or whatnot, so maybe we can add that in there. So we talked about the annexation agreement, changing it, looking into it. I'd really like to get that meeting set up. I don't know if you guys want to do it sooner than later or after February 25th. That would be probably my best suggestion, or after the candidates, whoever they may be sworn in. I do like Trustee Consolino's idea about a civility pledge. Maybe we can add that to when the trustees are sworn in.
Does that include all their aliases too?
Yeah.
I like the idea about revisiting the annexation agreement after the 25th. I didn't hear her.
Trustee Reinders, yeah, go ahead.
I like the idea about revisiting the annexation agreement after the 25th because we don't know who's going to be in there, and to do it prematurely and then have to turn around and redo it again. I don't think that makes sense. So I think what you stated is probably the best route.
Okay. Is there any more old business?
I had two residents call me about the water bills today in my own subdivision, that they're over $500. And I told them that we're working on it, and there's plenty of activity on this avenue as well. I was going to make mention of it earlier, but it seems to be happening a lot. And I had one actually the week before I went vacation from another one telling me his was $460.
Attorney Pasquinelli, you had something to add?
Yes, ma'am. If you can share that information, Trustee Mason, with our firm, with myself, I want to compile the information that we spoke with the young lady earlier
here.
today. She's still here?
Yeah.
Terrific. In addition to that information, when we connect with the
absolutely
the higher ups in the
I can give you his name and number, and you can tell him that you work with me.
Thank you.
Mr. Baber?
We coordinate that through me, and then I'll pass it on to the law firm.
I actually want to get something out to the public because I'm sure she's not the only resident. And I saw you pointing to the 2 empty seats. I'm assuming your neighbors also have similar situations. Yeah, sure, go ahead. We're not usually, but.
Yeah, there were a few of us here.
Yeah.
Two that I mentioned were sitting on the end with me, and then I didn't show anything, but I wanted to stay till the end in case anybody did want to.
Oh, I thought you grabbed that already.
No.
Oh, yeah, we wanted that. I thought he was.
She
we'll
said
take
she had
it.
125 signatures
Yeah.
of
So I
residents.
do want to, so,
The bottom half is all like actual water bills, and then it's got like usage, stuff from the actual water company, the signatures on the petition, what they found when they came and looked at everything, and then the screenshots that show that they changed numbers on their documents.
yeah, so and this is more or less talking to the board too, so when we got elected, we talked about putting a water task force together. And we've been talking about what is that going to accomplish? What are we going to do? What are we looking for? How are we investigating this? What is our plan from this point to now? And we're here. It's honestly, I did not speak to you about this earlier, so this wasn't set up or planned, but we're at that moment right now. So like, you're going to be one of the first. We have others, but one of the very first that actually has all that information, and that's what we want. I want to use you as a perfect example of what we're looking for from other residents to help build this case. So exactly what you did is kind of like you were just sent here, you know, from the heavens to help the residents as well. So when we do that task force, I'd like you to be a part of it if you don't mind. were you going to add something? I
No,
cut you off.
no,
Okay. But Joe, you wanted to go all through you. If you don't mind giving that information to Joe, if you're okay with that, so we can have it, and then we'll contact you from there and all the signatures. I don't know if there's just signatures or names and addresses, so that would be hard to follow up with them, but you might be on that task to help us get all that, okay? All right, any more new business?
We're under old, right, still?
Or did I say new? I meant old.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Oh, go ahead.
The thing is, our residual contracts with the village are many and plentiful. And really, when we don't focus on those, that's a slow bleed on the village, right? We have Comcast bills that are close to $1,000 a month. Norman Security just sent us a bill for $6,226 on page 3. Comcast is on page 2. So what I want to make sure, and when I was the chair of admin and finance, I asked for a list of all our residual contracts in the month that they expire so we can start looking at them 2 to 3 months ahead of time. I'd like to get that started and maybe get that information from you, Joe, through your staff. And so this board, especially in A&F, knows what's coming up on under a residual contract, because again, I've caught things that had residual contracts on them that had 9% increases that I had fixed. So with that said, though, we have the Will County Sheriff's contract coming up that is $4-point-some million. That expires in April. We really should be either having a special meeting on it, or it should be at the next A&F meeting where we start talking about that contract and seeing what we can put into there or change or add. But in the past, that hasn't always been diligently done. So I'm asking for that to be presented at the next A&F meeting, and we can get started looking at that as a complete board then too. Whether we have to move it into executive session or not, it needs to start in admin and finance though. So
I actually love that idea. It's almost
Actually,
like,
Joe and I have been talking about it already.
it's almost like the apps on your phone where you're constantly paying for all these apps you
we all
don't
talked
know.
about it before, but we haven't done it. So Joe, if we could make sure we do it and get her done, that would be great.
I think that'd be a great like subcommittee off the A&F.
Well, it's actually doesn't need a subcommittee, I don't think, because it's just contractual. It goes through A&F. We are the subcommittee. A&F would be the subcommittee. And then we could bring it to the board with any new ideas or changes or whatever, and we can all be on the same page.
All right. It's a lot of work ahead for you, the four of you, but go for it. Anybody else with old business? Trustee Styling.
I don't know if this is old business or new business, but for 143rd Street, I know I've talked to Joe before, reducing the speed and requesting the county to reduce the speed on 143rd Street. So what does, like where does that stand and what do we need to do to try and get that moving forward?
Right. So the last time we, as residents, we petitioned to have Cedar Road speed limit lowered where it was a county portion, and the best avenue that the county told me to do was to petition your board members, the Will County board members, get all 17, send them emails, explain why. And many people know that sometimes the decisions are made politically. So when they're getting forced by residents, and we know our residents are loud and very vocal when it comes to things that they want. And in fact, the county has told us that the 2 biggest board meetings that they've ever had in attendance and emails was from Village of Homer Glen residents. So if we all work together and we get all the residents to petition to lower the speed, that would be a great idea. But you also saw how that went with expansion.
So we should just be encouraging residents to write to all the county board members. Okay, thank you.
Was there any more old business? No? Any new business?
I do have something
Go ahead.
when it's my turn.
It's your turn.
As far as just to end this whole thing with legal, I had started earlier, and this is new to me. I had asked for the numbers from the end of our fiscal budget runs from May to April. So ending in April 30th, 2021, the budget for legal was $100,000. They actually spent $170,369. That was before any of us were on the board. Then in 2022,
So
the
can I just
budget,
ask, you said they were $70,000 over budget?
$70,369. In 2022, the budget was $120,000 and only $108,997 was spent, and that was with 2 lawyers. 21 was just 1 lawyer. This includes adjudication too, I believe. But in 2023, the budget went up to $175,000 and $137,067 was spent. In 2024, the budget was $180,000 and $131,939 was spent. And then our fiscal year right now, we have a budget of $150,000, and currently ending on 12/31/24, we're at $159,586. So I think the concern is coming from the public a little bit, is if we continue with $30,000 bills, we'll be at $150,000 over budget by the end of our fiscal year. And I'm sure that's going to be under control a little bit better now anyway, in my guesstimate, because we've been through a lot of things, 143rd Street, you know, the water reclamation, and buying properties. So I'm guessing that bill will come down a little bit. But I think that's where the concern came from the public. And we did have people coming out and screaming about 2 lawyers at $5,000 and $7,000 total bills, but yet then, you know, you don't see those same people complaining here now. But nevertheless, I think we're doing well. I think we should look at this, though, as a group when we come up with our budget for next year and make sure that we have that cushion, just like with Homerfest or any other expenditure for the village, that we have that cushion and we know what we need, and maybe make this number more realistic. That's all. Thank you.
So I can add to that, though. So the good thing about now is that we actually have a team of attorneys that help us with all different real matters that are going on in the village. When there were 2 attorneys when you spoke, and the bill was high then, one was a legislative counsel, which was actually an attorney for the trustees. So the taxpayers were paying for an attorney to tell the trustees how to do their job, which we don't need that now. So
No.
Congratulations to you guys that don't need someone to tell you how to do your job. I think that's great.
No, that
so we're
wasn't the
saying,
case.
excuse me, Trustee Fialco.
You're lying, though.
You lie every day.
No,
so
I don't.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you to stop talking when I talk, or, you know, we have this
And
thing
give
called
me a rebuttal
censorship
to your-
or whatever,
to what
or,
you're
you know,
saying.
we can do all these other things. Okay. All right, well, keep talking. So what I'm going to say is, I think it's great that we don't have to pay for an attorney to tell us how to do our jobs. I appreciate the attorneys that we have because they're actually getting real things done, and that we have at least a majority of the board that's willing to work together and do things for our residents. Trustee Reinders?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Dan, did you say that it was the budget went down from the previous year? The budget was 180, we budgeted 180 for attorney fees, and then we budgeted 150?
Where, from 2024 to 2020, ending in 2025, yes. We went down from 180 to 150, yes.
Who made that decision to lower the
Don't know.
budget?
Well, this board approved it.
Right.
But who made the recommendation to lower the attorney fees? What board was that? Was that this board?
Yes.
I don't want to misspeak. I can pull together the information and get a record of previous budgets and what was spent.
I don't
We're gonna do that.
remember, for some reason, I don't remember that.
I'm working on putting together some information regarding legals, going back historical information right now. I'm in the process of doing that, and I'll present that at the next A&F meeting, like I was asked to do.
Thank you.
And then can you do me a favor, since this attorney fee thing is like a big deal, which it is, but can you categorize for the year what we've spent on what?
Yeah,
So
I'm in
people
the
can
process.
know and see what is actually costing the money. I know 143rd is expensive, which I understand. How much on FOIA is, you know, there's a lot of things that people don't realize that's going on. Oh,
Doesn't the bill go on, when we put out the agenda, when we put out the agenda, the breakdown of the attorney fees are on there, and it tells you exactly what we're spending the money on.
Right.
They've done a great job breaking it down by subtitle.
Yeah, it's great.
yeah, but as you
I
can
mean,
see,
yeah. So, I mean, we get to see exactly what we're paying for, and I think the public gets to see that as well.
But you could see by some of the comments tonight that some of the trustees don't read their
exactly,
packets
yeah.
before we get here.
I was given that directive at the last A&F meeting, and I'm presently working on it.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to remind, I know there was a mention of a resident that is costing fees. I want everyone to remember that the name Brian Stevens is a very common name. So I don't want people, residents, to go out there and chastise a resident who they think it is, and then, and it's not. So just be careful with that, because that name is very common. It's not the same person as everyone thinks it is. So just wanted to throw that out there as well.
I don't think anyone said a first name, though, did they?
No, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was said.
They said Brian Stevens.
Said a couple of times.
I didn't.
Well, it was said. I don't know who, don't care, it was said. It's public knowledge, it's in the attorney bills, so just want to make sure that everyone knows. Yes, attorney?
So obviously, there's been a discussion about fees today, and being one of the employees of the law firm that's the village attorney, I would just like to say just a couple things. First and foremost, no one likes to spend money on legal fees. Doctors and lawyers, we understand, no one wants to shell out bills and pay money when it comes time to paying legal fees. We certainly understand that. But what I'd like you all to do, though, is just real quick, when we take a look at the matters and what we've done to make it easy for the public, we've broken down all of the tasks and work that we're doing into certain topics, into certain cases, so that the public can see, and this board can see, and management can see where our time is being spent. Now, rest assured, our law firm isn't just working randomly on topics and cases that we deem necessary for you all. That's not true. The village board gives us direction, as does the mayor and the village manager, to do specific tasks and to take on challenges and a review of certain things that they believe is necessary for you. We then, given that direction, we then work through those legal matters, and we bill it in a manner so that you all could see how our time is being broken down and how our time is being allocated to each specific project and task that's being asked for us to do, and that all corresponds to a dollar amount. When you look at the bills that were talked about today, and the total was, I believe, somewhere $32,000. The first account that we have is our general account. A general account is general stuff that we do for, let's say, the deputy clerk needs some assistance with putting together ordinances, things of that nature, in addition to general advice that, for instance, Mr. Baber might call and might ask us on certain things and how to handle personnel and other matters, and also our attendance at hearings like this. That's typically where you'll see us bill for, or our time allocated for those general matters. And there, our amount was $2,624. In addition, we have an account for Plan Commission and Development. Development questions, development projects that are going on in this village, that needs oftentimes review by council. When Chris Grubens, who's your Community Development Director, or Mr. Baber, or Ms. Patch, or Mr. Westcott need our advice on how to handle or navigate through certain things, that's where you see, that's typically where that time and those tasks get allocated. And for there, we have a total of roughly $3,157. So we have two accounts totaling roughly $5,700, close to $6,000 of the general activities and tasks that village attorneys do for a village to make it operate. What we have also here are a slew of other projects that we have above and beyond been asked to do outside of the general planning and development and the general fund that we do with working with Mr. Baber and staff and the clerks and stuff on getting all these ordinances and stuff out to you, okay? Those include, for instance, and we touched on it briefly, the close to $14,000 in the electoral board billing that went to that specific task and that specific project. The approximate $5,600 in legal defense for a suit that was brought in the Circuit Court of Will County. That's separate and distinct from what typically we'd be doing. In addition to two separate boundary agreements that we were asked to review, one with Lamont, one with, we always have one ongoing with Lockboard, but one with Lamont specifically on this billing cycle, and New Lenox. Those were independently reviewed by me. I had to review them. I looked at them. I had to give advice to Mr. Baber and others on how best to manage our village affairs based upon those things. And that totaled several $1,000s. And then last but not least, we had Local 150. Again, something that's not general, run-of-the-mill stuff that a village attorney typically handles. This was Local 150 negotiations, and the compilation and the memorialization of a written agreement with the union, settlement agreement, for it to go before the board in an ordinance form to be ratified by everybody. That was roughly $2,132. So when we talk about, we all know we don't like to spend fees. We understand that as your attorneys. We 100% do. However, I ask everyone to please take a look at what you're asking us to do. You're asking us to do multiple tasks and multiple projects and take a look at it from that prism. Certainly, we appreciate the work and the confidence that everybody has in us, and we'll continue to work, provided you all want us still to maintain being your village attorney. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any more new business? All right, hearing none, we already did workshops, so we're going to enter executive session regarding discussion regarding personnel, discussion regarding pending litigation. Look at that. And review of executive session minutes. Okay, no minutes. All right. All right, is there a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make the motion to go into
Trustee Mason?
executive session.
Trustee Fialko, all in favor?
5-minute break.
Yeah. Aye. Have a good night, guys.
Good night, and thank you for coming.